The faster we get started, the faster we get out. Place that down there. If we could ask everybody to find a seat, we'll commence shortly with the RTC board meeting. Thank you for your patience. Good morning. Happy Valentine's Day.
Yes.
And we'll call this meeting to order. Ms. Quigley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you see, as you acknowledge, today is Valentine's Day, and we have given you each a little token of our appreciation. You'll see that it is nerd candy. And the reason being is because, as you've probably noticed, we are an agency filled with nerds. You're not drawn to transit and transportation because of its cool factor. There's something else that draws you there. And likewise, there's something that drew you to this board, because nobody would sit on a board of transit and transportation and flood unless they had some nerdiness factor to them. So with that, happy Valentine's Day to my head honcho nerds.
Mr. Chairman, did you all get one of these? I didn't get. I'm not feeling the love here, Ms. Quigley.
Oh my gosh. Well, maybe it's a compliment. Maybe you're not.
Mr. Chairman, can I make
feel a little left out here.
I
feel much better now.
I would like to just add,
because
he shouldn't feel left out, because if you all didn't notice, he and his wife were on the cover of the Las Vegas Review-Journal today. Their picture when they got married, how many years ago? As a perfect Valentine. So
Thank you,
very handsome
maybe it
couple.
represents you're the biggest nerd up here.
All right. With that, Mr. Chairman, your agenda is in order and ready for your approval.
Motion to approve the agenda. On the floor, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? That motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission. Your second item is to receive the General Manager's report, and we have one item today that we're bringing to you. We have the Disruptive and Illegal Behavior Passenger Policy. We have heard from several speakers over the past year that there is some concern for the existing policies. We, at your direction, have gone back, taken a look at those policies, and today we've got Kenny Rodriguez from our call center to speak with you, as well as representatives from Veolia and First Transit.
Thank you, Tina. Chairman, board members, first I'd like to say I did get the memo from Commissioner Ross about the pink shirt in honor of Valentine's Day, so thank you. I'd like to start off the presentation by first discussing the paratransit portion of our behavior. I'm going to go over, there are two categories. I'd like to go over some examples of that behavior. First being the illegal behavior. This could be described as behavior by a client who physically attacks another client or operator on the vehicle, a client who sexually assaults another client or operator on the vehicle, or a client who tries to take control of a vehicle, any client who attempts to damage any equipment in a violent way. The disruptive portion could be a client who distracts the operator by moving, yelling, or creating loud noises and/or other disturbances that may cause distractions, or moving about the vehicle in a manner that makes it unsafe for the operator to move the vehicle. Clients who refuse to board or deboard the vehicle, thus resulting in disruption of service. Or any client who refuses to pay fare. I would like to introduce Alan Keller, General Manager of First Transit, so that he can explain how they educate their operators on this policy.
Thank you, Kenny. Ladies and gentlemen of the board. First Transit, as part of their comprehensive training, provides at least 8 hours of customer service and sensitivity training. The training curriculum includes ADA and how it works and how it relates to safety and sensitivity, effective communication using the appropriate language with our clients, the various types of disabilities and the levels of services provided, including the effective use of mobility aids and service animals. And it also reviews the RTC's disruptive and illegal behavior policy, the ability to distinguish between disruptive and illegal behavior, conflict resolution, and how to handle escalating situations. As part of our annual training, operators receive refresher training on sensitivity, and that training would include various types of illegal and disruptive behavior, the highlighting again of the differences, and reiterate the reporting process. The most recent training took place in October of 2012. It was a comprehensive session that included scenario-based training. RTC staff did participate in that training with us, and RTC covered their response to incident reporting with our operators. When a disruptive or an illegal incident occurs, operators notify radio dispatch of the incident in real time. The dispatcher collects the pertinent information such as the coach number, the operator, the location of the vehicle, the client's name, the type of behavior, etc. The dispatcher notifies the road supervisor immediately. The road supervisor is dispatched to the location, attempts to de-escalate the situation, and ensures that all passengers are safe, and attempts to get the vehicle back into service. If that's not possible, the dispatcher will send another vehicle to pick up that route. The reporting forms utilized are an incident report, which is completed by the operator upon their return to the depot. Dispatchers using a critical report that is going to be forwarded to the RTC along with the incident report form. As part of the process, the First Transit reports on a regular basis using a spreadsheet to RTC of all the reports that they've submitted. That information is shared with the various agencies that we deal with, and at the conclusion of the process, we receive feedback from the RTC, which is also provided to the operator. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to inform you about, with each of these suspensions, we notify our clients of the decision that we make, and we also notify them of the appeal process. This appeal process is ADA compliant. Some riders may continue to use service during the appeal process, depending on the severity of their behavior. There's a 3-level appeal process. So during that process, ideally they could be riding in order for them to do their appeal process. Each level allows them to appeal, and when the decision's made, if it's upheld, then they have the right to the next level, and their suspension dates will be moved in order for them to appeal to the next level. The way we handle cognitive clients could be a little different, and I'll discuss that in a little bit. I want to discuss, we began meeting periodically last summer with both of the contractors, operators, and we got a lot of valuable feedback. One of the things we realized during these meetings is on the paratransit side, we lacked a little communication in getting the information back to the operators. So what we did is after that meeting, we came up with a process to ensure that the operators are being informed of the action that's taken. So this way they feel that their complaints are not going unanswered. So just to give you a little idea about the feedback to the agencies, when we have a situation, what we do is we contact the appropriate person, whether it be the client or their legal guardian, and identify the behavior, let them know what had happened. If necessary, in the case of a cognitive client, we may set up a meeting. That meeting will include the client, the responsible person, the state agency, the work site, and RTC and First Transit. The goal of this meeting is to identify the triggers that cause the behavior and to basically ensure that we could potentially get them back onto the service without having another issue. So once we get all of our details together, we will address it with the critical incident spreadsheet and report it back to First Transit. Once First Transit receives this information, they will provide a written formal response to the operator that turned in the incident report, identifying the action that the RTC has taken. Next, I'd like to introduce Will Barlett, the Director of Safety and Security, Training and Risk Management for Veolia, so he can discuss the fixed route portion of this policy.
Thank you, Kenny. Fixed route is a bit different than the paratransit. However, we do have some similar things that we have to be concerned about. Customers refusing to pay the fare is one of them. Passenger versus passenger altercations. And we also have passenger versus operators and sometimes supervisor altercations. Our goal is to help protect passengers of Veolia and the RTC staff, general public, and RTC assets in the event of an incident. And this all starts with employee orientation in our company. Veolia, in their new hire training, it is Veolia's purpose to help protect passengers, and how to handle disruptive passengers is discussed during new employee operations as part of a 5-hour Going for Green customer relations program. All new employees complete the orientation. Going for Green uses the red, yellow, green traffic light analogy to learn strategies to make the passenger feel calm and safe while on the coach. The idea is to keep any interaction with customers in the green, which means in a positive, understanding, and calm tone while trying to understand and meet the needs of the customer. Operators are taught not to escalate any discussions with angry customers, but rather state company policy and help the customer understand the limits of their ability to meet the needs of the customer. If the interaction moves to yellow, operators are taught to do whatever they can to move it back to green. Maybe additional information that may help the customer better understand the operator's position. If the situation escalates to red, the operator is to call the bus operations center to request assistance. All these efforts are to address the needs of the customer with skills designed to keep the customer situation from escalating. We have refresher training in between our new hire orientation. We have company safety meetings, which take place every 2 months. We have safety tailgate meetings that take place on a weekly basis. We have safety contacts, which take place generally on a daily basis. We also have memo boards and electronic memo boards that we use to get our message to our employees. In terms of discipline with our process, it mimics the RTC's progressive discipline policy. And I want to stress the relationship that we have, that Veolia has with the RTC in terms of resolving these issues and bringing forth discipline when it's necessary. It's really a seamless process and a fair process. The process that we use to report incidents once they occur on the bus is if the situation does escalate and becomes disruptive, the operator is required to call the bus operations center for assistance. A road supervisor and possibly law enforcement are called to respond. And a road supervisor can remove a disruptive passenger, in other words, trespass them from the system for up to 24 hours. Any more than that would have to be taken over by the RTC for their progressive disciplinary policy. If the situation becomes violent, the operators are allowed to defend themselves but take no offensive actions. Contacting the bus operations center is the priority in these situations. For use in an emergency, each bus is equipped with an EA button that notifies the bus operations department that there is an emergency and automatically opens the microphone, enabling the supervisor to hear what's happening on the coach. If illegal or disruptive behavior between passengers is observed on the coach, operators are to contact the bus operations center to request road supervisor and law enforcement involvement. A high percentage of operator assaults are over fares and fare evasion. Our operators are trained to quote the RTC policy and company fare policy that all passengers must pay a fare and that they are not allowed to offer free rides. There are signs on the bus that the operator can point to that explain the policy, and the operator is to state the policy only one time and point to the sign. If the passenger refuses to pay the fare, we let the passenger have a seat, and then the operator must call the bus operations center for further instructions. Training in this regard is reiterated several times a year in the company safety meetings, as well as continuing meetings when we have fare change policies and so forth. Operators who do not comport to the illegal and disruptive behavior policy will be subject to the Veolia Transportation Las Vegas Progressive Discipline Guidelines. So in summary, road supervision can remove disruptive passengers from the system for up to 24 hours. Serious encounters handled by law enforcement are forwarded to the RTC for possible legal action. In violent situations, operators are allowed to defend themselves, but again, take no offensive actions. Contacting Bus Operations Center is the priority at those points. In emergency situations, the operators can use the EA button to notify bus operations of emergency and automatically opens the microphone. And incidents between passengers, the operators should contact the Operations Center to request road supervision and involve law enforcement as applicable. Thank you.
That concludes our presentation. I'd like to take this time to thank both contractors and their operators for participating in our focus groups and providing us with this valuable feedback. Through it, I can tell you on the paratransit side, they've really helped us secure up the communication on this policy. We've received some positive feedback and appreciation on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Comments or questions from the board? Councilwoman Tarkanian?
I'd just like to ask, where you talk about the first offense, second and third, and you talk about suspension, I'm assuming that means suspension from riding? Am I correct?
On the paratransit side, depending on the severity of the behavior of the incident, there may not be a 1, 2, 3. If it falls within the illegal category, they could result in immediate suspension, again, with the right of appeal, though. But yes, ultimately, it could be progressive. An example of disruptive behavior, where a client continually has a disruptive behavior. We've tried to put together some things in place to ensure that it won't happen in the future. And if it continues to happen, then we would be forced to go down the progressive.
And if it's serious enough, then the first offense would lead to suspension, probably.
Correct. If it fell within the illegal behavior, yes, it would lead to suspension.
And how do you enforce that suspension?
Through paratransit, it's fairly simple. We have the ability to restrict their ability to book paratransit rides. We send out a letter notifying them. We call them. Or we meet with them, or all three, and then we notify them, and then again we can put in the suspension dates in their client file, which will restrict them from booking.
Suppose they just rode daily or just paid daily and didn't buy anything that you could check. How would you know? Would your driver know?
Well, and speaking of paratransit, we would know because you would have to book the ride.
That's
so we
right.
know all our clients. On the fixed route side, we rely on Allied Barton, we rely on the operators, and we rely on the road supervisors.
So it would be primarily the operators, and who else did you say? I didn't hear the first one.
For the fixed route side?
Yes.
We would rely on the Veolia operations and Allied Barton.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
That might be tough to do in a way.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tina, before you go on, just a reminder to those in the chambers this morning, shortly we'll open up our first comment period for citizens' participation, which will be those wishing to speak on an agenda that has been posted. If you wish to speak, we would respectfully ask that you fill out a card, and the cards are located in the back, or people are usually floating around. You can get one, and just put your name, address, and what item you'd like to speak on. That will give us a sense as far as managing the time. We don't want to cut anybody off. So I'd appreciate that. If you're willing, if you're anticipating speaking, would you fill out a card?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We can move on to item number 3, which is to receive the Nevada Department of Transportation Director's Report. Rudy Malkavani.
Tries to accomplish is to have fairness and equity in road transfers Neon, NDOT is in the process of negotiating an agreement with the legal advisor, Nossaman, and a financial advisor, Ernst & Young, to enter into, develop an RFP for a separate team that would do a design-build finance project for Project Neon. Possibly operate and maintain as well on that. Project Neon is the widening of I-15 from Sahara to the Spaghetti Bowl, reconstructing Charleston Interchange and connecting the I-15 express lanes to the US 95 HOV lanes. So it's a major project. The governor mentioned it in his State of the State address, and NDOT is continuing to acquire right-of-way for that project as well. Another update on a major project down here, Boulder City Bypass. We've started our fencing and plant salvage contract, and we're dealing with some major issues with right-of-way acquisition. We're going to be relocating the utilities on schedule. However, some of the right-of-way acquisitions, there was an inverse condemnation claim filed against the department. And in that case, it's where a property owner says that we adversely affected their property values in some manner by actions that we took or allegedly took. And we anticipate that we're going to have to go to court on that. So it'll take about a year before that case is settled. But in the meantime, we're willing to provide any update to this board, the Boulder City Council, or Henderson City Council by the project manager to give more specific information on the Boulder City Bypass and the project schedule. But we are proceeding on the early stages of right-of-way acquisition, utility relocation, and that fencing and plant salvage. That concludes my report.
Mayor Tobler?
Just, if I could just make one recommendation. When we talk about the project, and it caused some confusion in Boulder City on the right-of-way, maybe if we can explain there's the two phases, and this is regarding the first phase, because the second phase, Boulder City is providing all the right-of-way, or most of it. So it did cause some confusion in the paper, and we got a lot of phone calls trying to figure out what was going on, and I think it would help if we separated the two phases when we talk about the project.
Definitely. When NDOT talks about the project, we will make a point to mention is phase one, which is the NDOT responsibility. RTC of Southern Nevada is looking at the toll road concept, or a public-private partnership for phase two, which goes from US 95 around Boulder City to connect at Nevada interchange. One thing to mention on the phase two project is I'm reviewing the environmental document revision that will go to Federal Highway Administration. It should go this week with some minor revisions, and they'll approve that, and then you can go forward. It'll amend the environmental approval that the Federal Highway Administration already granted to the project before it was considered to be a toll road. Thank you.
Councilwoman.
I also have a question for you. I wonder on the, you said that you're in court on an inverse condemnation along that first stretch. Does that preclude you from acquiring other right-of-way or continuing to work on right-of-way acquisition at this time because of that?
No, we are, on Boulder City Bypass Phase 1 project, we are working on all three parcels that we have to acquire from private property owners at the same time. So on one of those parcels, they have filed that inverse action against the department. So we'll have to go to court on that one. The other two are just in negotiations. On one of the parcels, we have to look at relocation costs. It's a standard requirement. If there's a business there or an activity going on already and we're acquiring their property, we have to help them to relocate.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our next item is to conduct a comment period for citizens' participation.
All right, we have three piles Those that are going to speak on the RFP items, we will wait for those to be called. So you can relax if you put in your card. They'll be called during the hearing. We have 2 speakers with no agenda item listed, so they'll be asked to speak at the end of the meeting. And the only one that has listed an agenda item is Mr. Chris Christoph, item number 31 on the bus shelter search study.
If each one takes the photo, she can all Good morning, Commissioner and Chairman of the RTC. My name is Christoph. I've been associated since 1992 when I was the vice chairperson for what we call Citizens for Better Safety and Transportation after Las Vegas Transit disappeared because of their concerns of service in our community. I bring this document to you to read, and I think you know a little bit about the American Disability Act, but pictures paint bigger than what the meaning of safety as well as transportation sometimes. As we know for years that we haven't corrected the bus shelters only to recently, something like 4 years ago, when we updated in the central part of the business called the tourist industry. Other than that, the old bus shelters that now count up to 33, but 500 have been reconstructed to be ADA approved. I started this on 6 years ago with the last big one with the chairman, Mr. Larry Brown, of the one we had on Boulder Highway where a person lost their life and another one lost their, actually, the little girl lost her life because she has got no legs. We had a great man that was at that RTC meeting as Mr. Chairman Larry Brown, Oscar Goodman. He came to me and he sat next to me. He says, "Chris, I don't want to ever see this again. This is disgraceful. This should never happen here." Well, time went by, 4.5 years later. It seems like money was building up, a lot of money, grant money from the federal government in Washington, that we have information from them and some reports that we have from other source, that we wasted $79 million in 4.5 years for grants that did not upgrade the bus shelters. As you see some of these pictures, as we have a woman here that's contact as a survey to find out about the condition of these old bus shelters that are being presented as discriminating against scooter chairs. Scooter chairs are the thing today. People want to get out. They want to live like other normal people. They're not just for the house around the yard. They're for going places, to the casinos, to different places to go shopping. When we examine, and I have from Mr. Scalbo, top engineer of the shelters, we have a list of all of them, all of them. We surveyed them to notice that 72% of them still don't conform with ADA, and those scooters cannot get in, Chairman, to help them be able to get on the bus, so boom, they're being ignored. Plus,
Mr. Christoph, if you could close,
I know, when
close up your
people
comments.
want to know about coming down and they don't have no way to come down, no vehicle, no way to get transportation, they are not reached out by RTC Paratransit. And to me, I see many things over the years where people enjoy this great service, but the ones who cannot get out, these are the 80 to 100% disability who use the chairs, are being deprived of using this great buses that our government of the United States, they spend the money for us to have the best. We have a good administration here at RTC, but it seems like it's gone on deaf ear for 5 years that they continue to say we don't have the money,
we can't move back, and the domain can't do nothing. And yet, a famous woman, now Ms. Mayor from Oscar Goodman, Carol Goodman, makes a statement saying we're going to get money to donate to buy the property so they can move back. Well, that's something that I would love to see and everybody else.
Mr. Christoph, you've had
So I just want to bring that to your
additional
attention.
9 Thank you.
And I don't know what
Appreciate
your concern is. You sat on this for a long
I
time,
appreciate your comments.
and I feel that this is important. And if you
Thank
could give
you.
this woman the courtesy of speaking, she's here today, I would respect
On
that.
on what item?
Excuse me?
On what item?
On why she can't get in like hundreds into the bus shelters because they're only 22 inches when these chairs are 26 to 34 inches
Okay.
wide. See,
You're done. Ma'am, do you want to speak now or at the end of the meeting? And if you could just give us your name. Mr. Christoph, you can take your, Mr. Christoph, you can take your information and go sit down.
Yes,
Thank you.
Yes. My name is Margaret Humza. Is it on? Okay. And I'm here on behalf of myself and others, hundreds like myself. I have never gotten on a public bus because I can't fit. The shelters are always too close to the curb. They're dangerous. I've many times have not even been able to stand on the side of one or parked with this. I can't pass one because they're right off the curb. So I would have to go in the street to even get past one to get on the other side. I feel that I'm a human being. I'm a citizen of this wonderful state. I would like to be able to use the bus safely and not be afraid to get hurt or even worse, killed. And we all know that has happened and will happen again. These things have to be addressed. They can't go on anymore like they are. Too many people are getting hurt. Children are getting hurt. So many times I see children standing and sitting on the curb in ongoing and coming traffic. A lot, parents, as we all know, don't do what they're supposed to do with their children. But it's just a matter of time before something happens again. And I want to be able to go on the bus. I want to be able to afford a bus pass. A lot of these people are on low income and hardly any money at all and can't even afford a bus pass. And these people need doctor visits they have to go to. They can't get out to go grocery shopping. They can't just get out to do anything. And a lot of our elderly can't even do it because they need assistance. I would just appreciate it if someone would address these issues and be concerned about other citizens, because we're citizens too. Just because we're handicapped, we have a life. We like to do things just like everyone else.
Thank you so much. If I could ask, have you met with anybody from the RTC as far as your situation? And
well, for instance, I called and Mr. Christoph tried to get someone to pick me up to come here today. Nobody ever got back to me.
all right, well, why don't we have someone from the RTC staff get your name and number so you can deal directly with one of the employees and see if we can address some of your concerns, and they are very legitimate.
Thank
We
you very
appreciate
much
you taking the effort to come
for
down.
giving me a time to speak and your attention.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Mr. Chairman,
Councilwoman Tarkanian.
I would just like to state that it may have been a long time coming, and maybe we're further behind than we should be, but I do know that right now we are taking very active steps on those shelters. We are, yesterday, was it yesterday or the day before?
Monday.
Monday, we had a press conference near a new shelter by the Meadows Mall. And it was a shelter that had been requested for some time. And we are having all of those shelters 5 feet back, which will help. All statistics show that that distance makes a big difference as far as accidents. And it also is readily accessible for the wheelchairs, for your type of chair, and for everything. Now, we haven't had the money to have all of them done, but the city donated $1 million this past week to have more land purchased so that we can get the newer shelters in so that there will be access ADA-wise, and so it will be safer as far as accidents are concerned. The problem is a lot of these old shelters are in front of private land, and the private land people don't want to sell it to us, or else they have astronomical costs, which prohibit us from doing very many of them. We have then asked citizens, and we've had businesses such as the Bank of America donated land so that we could move our bus stop further back. Our Lady of Las Vegas Church is providing land free of charge so we can move that bus stop back by theirs. Christina Hickson, a private citizen, has donated land for a complete turnout where we will have enough room for both the ADA and for safety purposes. So what I'm trying to say is we haven't solved the entire problem, but I think the attention is there. I think the momentum is there, and I think Tina would agree with me that we're trying very hard, and the city is putting money in there to try and help also. So I just wanted to let you know of that.
A lot of these shelters in the north are either in the low-income district and out further away from the Strip, and they're the worst ones.
Well, you know, my ward does not include the Strip.
Well,
I mean what I'm talking about. What you're saying is that
the outer areas, the lower income places, the
yes.
more residential areas.
Yeah.
They're the ones I'm talking about.
Well,
they're the worst.
Thank you.
I just want to say that what I've told you about, some of these donations were in low-income areas. And you're right, there's a great need there. Those are the older parts of town. And those shelters aren't the ones we want to have. So we have beginning to do work, but we are beginning in these low-income areas.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak during this comment period? Seeing no one, we'll close this portion of citizen participation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Our next item is our consent agenda, which consists of items 5 through 28 and can be taken in one motion.
Motion on the floor for approval. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? And that motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item number 29 will be handled by Jerry Keating.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Item 29 is to receive a presentation and evaluate the performance of the general manager for the period of April 12, 2012 through December 31st, 2012, and adjust compensation or take whatever action you deem appropriate. On November 8, 2012, the RTC appointed RTC Commissioners Larry Brown, Chris Giunciliani, Deborah March, and Roger Tobler to serve on the Evaluation Committee to review the performance of the General Manager. Commissioner Lois Tarkanian was also appointed to serve as an alternate on the committee. On January 16, 2013, the meeting was held. The 4 appointed RTC Commissioners selected for the Evaluation Committee met and evaluated the performance for 2012 for the General Manager. At that time, the committee requested the General Manager, Tina Quigley, to present a brief overview regarding the RTC's accomplishments at the February 14, 2013 meeting of the RTC Board of Commissioners, and noted that the board can take action as appropriate regarding her performance. At this point, Tina will prepare her report for you.
Thank you. First of all, I want to say it's been less than a year since I've been in this position, but I have enjoyed absolutely every single day. I love the agency, I love the people that I work with in the agency, and I love the vision and mission of the agency. So with that, it hardly really feels like work, and I am excited to share with you some of the priorities and initiatives that we've been working on over the past year. One of them is establishing and strengthening our relationship with the community, particularly with other public sectors and private sector to the extent that we can. The other is to prioritize workforce mobility, making sure that we are reaching out to those who might choose to take transit as opposed to ride their vehicles, and also grow our awareness and integration of complete streets aspects into our roadway design. So with that, we will just show you a few slides on each one of these priorities. Number 1 is strengthening our public and private partnerships. We have been working with local jurisdictions, continuing to work with local jurisdictions, as well as private sector in establishing and growing different relationships. In particular, we have established relationships with outside vendors to sell transit passes. And by doing so, we've grown the program by more than $1 million. We're now up to $13 million in sales. And this is good because it's a win-win. It saves us money in the back end of processing, and also it's easier for our passengers to access these passes. And we are selling more monthly passes as opposed to daily or weekly passes because these are available at Walgreens, 7-Eleven, and Albertsons. We have created partnerships with anybody that we can create partnerships with, anybody who's got an interest in transit and transportation. In particular with Samstown, at their request, we relocated, for the sake of safety, a shelter that was in a busy driveway and was creating congestion issues. And in doing so, we were able to relocate that shelter 5 feet away from the curb. Likewise, with Boulder Station, we added an additional shelter for the safety of employees and reduce their walking distance. We also had a request by Sugar Factory at the Paris to relocate a shelter that was blocking the view of the Bellagio. Larry Brown coordinated that introduction, and we were very happy that we were able to work with them so that they are comfortable and champions of the RTC. When I am not being passionate about transit and transportation, the next highest priority of passion for me is Clark County School District and working with them. So this was really exciting that we were able to create a partnership with them and the students at a magnet school, wherein magnet school kids, a lot of times transit, getting to and from school is very challenging because of the very lengthy rides that you've got to take if you're using the school district transportation system. So by going to, in this case, Las Vegas Academy and establishing a relationship with the school to promote transit and educate the students on transit routes and actually give passes to them and their families so they could learn how the transit system works, and by installing a TVM machine, a ticket vending machine on campus, we've been able to attract about 50 additional students who take our system regularly to and from school. And we'll be launching 2 more schools in the near future as well, the Veterans Tribute and Advanced Technologies Academy. Next slide. We initiated a pilot program with a company called Megabus. This is a charter bus, or a bus system that operates between Southern Nevada and California. They are using a bay at our South Strip transfer terminal, and in doing so, they're bringing us about 200 additional passengers to that to our system and riding our system. Right now, it is just a pilot program, and we'll continue doing it through the end of this month. We'll evaluate it and see if it was a win-win for both parties. Under workforce mobility, we continue to make transit enhancements and try to identify opportunities that encourage commuters to leave behind their cars and let us do the driving for them. To that extent, we've restored service to our transit system. Since 2008, as you are well aware, we've had to cut service by about 220 service hours. Slowly, as sales tax revenues continue to increase, we've been able to restore that service for our workforce. We are working with you. Actually, we've completed the design phase, and we have just recently awarded the contract for construction of a new transit center at UNLV. This center will have 6 bus bays. It'll provide comfortable and convenient. It'll be a comfortable and convenient addition to the campus, offering an attractive and comfortable outdoor waiting area with passenger shelters, seating, bike racks, ticket vending machines, landscaping, and a lighted area. Again, encouraging students and employees to consider transit. Flamingo Bus Rapid Transit. This is in design phase right now. We were very lucky. We were able to work with our congressional delegation to get $1.9 million reallocated from an existing grant. We had a savings of still had a remaining $1.9 million on a grant. We were able to work with them and the FTA to get this reallocated to do a bus rapid transit design for Flamingo Road. Flamingo is one of our highest ridership routes, and undoubtedly will be appreciated by those traveling east and west getting to and from work. Our Complete Streets initiative, we continue to work with your public works directors to develop standards that will make our roadways more efficient and safer for all modes. To that extent, we have recently completed the final draft design manual and guidelines for implementing Complete Streets, and we plan on bringing this to you in March for your review and approval. Maryland Parkway, this is a very exciting project for us. We're in the alternatives analysis phase of studying Maryland Parkway. And as required, by the FTA, you have to do an alternatives analysis before you can be eligible for federal funds. Alternatives analysis is where you do extensive community outreach to get a better understanding for what the community needs out of this corridor. And so far what we're hearing is safety is the biggest thing, particularly as it relates to pedestrians and bicyclists, with their discussion on travel speeds and also enhanced transit along this corridor. So this study will be going on through the end of this year, and we very much look forward to seeing what our community needs and wants out of this corridor. Lastly, we've been moving forward on our bike and pedestrian improvements as well. We recently completed the Southern Nevada Bicycle Improvement Project. We worked with the local jurisdictions, including Clark County, Las Vegas, Henderson, and North Las Vegas, to identify roadways where installation of either bicycle lanes or bicycle routes would improve the regional bike network. As well, we have completed the Downtown Pedestrian and Bicycle Improvement Project. The design is complete, the contractor's been selected, and the scope of work includes bike lanes, pavement, striping, signage, all to provide contiguous bike lanes around the growing downtown Las Vegas area. It'll also include on some corridors wider sidewalks, landscape buffers for safe and comfortable pedestrian movements. So with that, that is the conclusion of my General Manager's evaluation summary.
Thank you, Tina. On the subcommittee were Councilwoman March, Mayor Tobler, Commissioner June Kiliani, and myself. So open it up for any comments.
Sure. Ms. Quigley, great report. Thank you very much. And I know your passion for transportation. I know your passion so well for transportation. I want to publicly thank you and your staff, Mr. Haney, and the rest of you for working with the private sector transportation folks, the taxi cabs, the limousine services, as this is all integral to the success of our valley in regards to transportation, especially with 40 million visitors a year, and we're shooting for the 41 million visitor mark this next year. I think that's significant that we take this very seriously. I think you've done a phenomenal job, even though you haven't been here more than 12 months. Continue the great work, and I know it takes a team. It's all of you that do this, and I certainly recognize that from my perspective, and I want to tell you how much I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. And yes, your words we have taken your words very seriously. We have reached out to taxi cab and limo industry, as well as taxi cab authority, and we do intend to work cooperatively with them.
Well, and I have to say that it's that partnership that we have as a regional government agency working with the private sector businesses when it comes to transportation. I think it's very significant. Even when we reach out to, whether it's advertising or anything else we do with our vendors and suppliers and anyone else that we do business with, I think it's significant to recognize that. We're trying to do everything we can certainly to move people, but we're also an economic engine helping small business here in this community.
Thank you for your leadership of the RTC, and I think that the RTC is an example across the state of good cooperation, and it's not just because we're all sitting here, it's really because of the leadership of the agency and the work that you and your staff do to make sure that we're all working well together. You do provide strong leadership, and you're a very strong advocate for the RTC. In fact, I was up in the legislature last week, and Tina testified on behalf of the RTC and did an outstanding job of sharing with the legislators the needs here in Southern Nevada and what a great and strong organization this is. So thank you for that. And I know you called out a number of the things that you were working on in terms of your outreach and complete streets. And obviously a strong goal is to grow the transit programs and services here in Southern Nevada, whether it's Maryland Parkway or Flamingo Road, but also the work that you're doing with the Veterans Services to expand those services and the UNLV transit efforts there as well. I think that you've been forward-thinking with many of the things that you're doing and working with the LVCVA, and I think we're very fortunate, and while I've long been a strong advocate of Jacob Snow, I must say that you are a breath of fresh air for the RTC, and so thank you very much for your leadership.
Take that, Jacob.
Is there any other comments or questions?
I can stall for a minute or so until the chairman gets back. I just want to commend you all. So I think you do a great job. You know, I think we all represent different cities, and I think the RTC does a great job in yourself balancing our needs. sometimes we have competing needs, and I think that makes your job very difficult. But as one who represents a small community, I always feel like you guys are always there for us, and you've had your staff out a number of times helping us with certain situations, and I really appreciate that. And once again, I think you do a great job, so thank you.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Tarkanian?
I just wanted to add that, Tina, you and your great team have brought us national recognition as far as how you operate a transportation system in a city such as ours. And you've brought safety, and you've brought caring and concern. Not one time have I ever spoken with any one of you that I did not have a feeling of great empathy for the needs of the citizens that we're representing and trying to help. And besides that, I want to tell you, you make all of us up here look good. Thank you.
It's easy to do.
I just want to echo a lot of those comments being made too. Thank you for the job that you've done, and your staff of nerds has done a great job, so thanks.
Thank you for those comments. The subcommittee had talked about some salary movement, either evaluating merit or COLA. And what I'd ask with the indulgence of the board is to direct Jerry to go back, look at those options, take in the comments that were put on the record today, and bring back this item in March for final approval of the board. And I'll make that in the form of a motion on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. Item number 30 is to approve and adopt the Nevada Economic Development Political Action Committee's request for a resolution supporting fuel tax indexing and authorize the chairman to sign. Now, NEDPAC, which actually has been renamed NEDCO, standing for the Nevada Economic Development Coalition, is requesting that the Regional Transportation Commission of Southern Nevada Board of Commissioners approve a resolution that supports fuel tax indexing. Furthermore, as part of the resolution, NEDPAC, NEDCO, is advocating that the Nevada legislature enable Clark County Board of Commissioners to implement fuel tax indexing. I'm going to read aloud the resolution that is before you. There are 8 whereases, so be patient, but it's not too long. Resolution supporting fuel tax indexing. Whereas fuel tax is a crucial user-paid funding mechanism for surface transportation projects throughout Clark County, and whereas since 1995, Clark County's fuel tax has remained fixed while the consumer price index and producer price index have risen significantly, federal, state, and local fuel taxes have not been adjusted in over 17 years, resulting in a 51% loss in purchasing power, and whereas all counties in Nevada except Clark County have received authorization from the Nevada legislature to index fuel tax, and whereas the unemployment rate in Clark County was 10% in 2012 and much higher in the construction trades, and whereas the first 3 years of indexing will potentially result in additional bonding capacity in excess of $600 million for local transportation projects, and whereas indexing would provide direct employment support for approximately 4,300 person years of employment during the project time frame, a person year equating to 1 person employed full-time for 1 year. And whereas indexing will generate over $300 million in direct wage and salary payments during scheduled projects within 3 years. And whereas national studies indicate that every $1 invested in surface transportation projects creates $4 in direct economic benefits. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Regional Transportation Commission of Southern Nevada does hereby support the implementation of fuel tax indexing. We also encourage and support the Nevada legislature to enable the Clark County Board of Commissioners to implement fuel tax indexing. Now, we have Jim Caviola here with us today representing the NEDCO effort. Oh, and there he is. And I'd just like to clarify for the board and the public that this measure before the RTC only encourages the Nevada legislature to enable Clark County to impose an indexed motor vehicle fuel tax. It is not to actually enact. It is to allow Clark County to enable. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you. I also have with me Patrick Smith, member of our coalition. And we didn't have a presentation, but we're here to answer any questions that the commission may have.
Tina took all of our good whereases.
Oh, I'm sorry.
She took every whereas. Councilman Ross.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, and with the board's permission, I'll talk about some of those whereases, if I may. I'm a little familiar with this effort, and I want to point out some very significant things about NEDPAC, NEDCO, whatever you're calling it today. This is literally the private sector coming together in many disciplines, and I see your advisory committee, a group of diverse individuals throughout the industry, throughout this community, and then just the sponsors alone of your group is tremendous. These are Southern Nevada small businesses, from design teams, engineering teams, construction teams, supply teams. I mean, this is significant for us in regards to how this came about. I understand there's current prospective legislation. Mr. Smith, is that correct?
That's correct. We don't have a BDR or a bill in place right now. Sorry, Mr. Chairman, Patrick Smith, on behalf of NEDPAC, NEDCO, through you to Commissioner Ross. We don't have any legislation in place right now, but we do have a commitment by Speaker Kirkpatrick to move this along.
So even our legislators, through the chair, Mr. Chairman, through the chair, even our legislators are recognizing the significant economic, job-creating impact this will have on Clark County should it be successful. A couple things I want to point out. Unemployment in Clark County last year, I think, in the 10% range, 20% range for underemployed individuals throughout this community. And Ms. Quigley, you mentioned 4,300 jobs for a year, or man hours for man hours. That is significant, especially in the construction industry, when the construction industry has been hit by 50% unemployment, easy, in Southern Nevada because of this economic downturn. I want to make a recommendation, and that's that we as local government bodies take this back to our respective councils, commissions, and also pass a resolution supporting this, because as I look at this, this is all about jobs. This is all about helping this economy and recognizing the future transportation needs in this community. And I have to commend the private sector and the businesses that are part of this for coming forward with this great plan. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Hafen.
Yes, I also concur with Councilman Ross. I would recommend, and I do appreciate the presentation when you came to Mesquite, presented. Appreciate the efforts of all involved. I would just like to go on record. I would recommend that when we support it going to the legislature, when it comes back to the county, I would encourage the county commissioners that they weigh in on the public input, maybe whatever form that may be. My understanding is that's how they did it in Washoe County. I know it's been a success, but the citizens weighed in on whether or not they wanted that additional 2, 3, whatever percent it's going to be on per gallon. So I would just encourage, for the record, that the county commissioners, I think it's a great idea, but I do believe that they should take it to the citizens in some form or fashion.
Thank you. Councilwoman March.
You know, as we go forward, we're seeing less and less state and federal funding being available, and we, as a community, have to begin to look at local solutions for solving our road challenges, whether it's improvements or new road construction. And this certainly offers us a solution that's been available to all of the other counties across the state for some time, and it will allow us funds to go ahead and do the needed construction work here in the Valley. And also, I understand that this morning the Regional Development Authority, which is the economic development body in Southern Nevada, actually took a vote to support and endorse this this vote here today and to move it to the legislature. So I think that this is right now the right thing to do as we are looking at solutions for our own community, because we can't wait on the federal government or the state to solve our issues.
Other comments, questions? Entertain a motion. Councilman Ross? Motion on the floor for support. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? And that motion carries. Thank you for all the hard work you've done to date.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Item number 31 will be handled by Assistant General Manager M.J. Maynard.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, item 31 is to receive a presentation on an update to the bus stop safety study and provide direction to staff as appropriate. Sam So, our consultant from Parsons Brinkerhoff, will present to you today.
Thank you, Tina. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, thank you very much for the opportunity to present to you the findings of our bus stop safety study. My name is Sam So. I'm with the firm of Parsons Brinkerhoff. I'm a regional manager. Our firm is an international planning and consulting firm. We specialize in transportation, particularly mass transit, as well as highway design. This is a particularly timely topic, and bus stop safety, there are many factors that you consider in looking at where you place bus stops. Many of those factors include looking at the accessibility of the transit locations, to the people getting on the buses, convenience and safety of the patrons. RTC has done a really good job since 2008 and beyond to focus on enhancing transit safety. Tina alluded to earlier in her presentation, RTC is moving forward with a strategy of complete streets. That will be an enhancement in terms of many of the strategies that would allow for enhanced transit safety centers. Also, RTC has been looking at moving individual bus stops. All of us as users of the roadways, whether we're drivers, transit riders, pedestrians, bicyclists, we have a responsibility to make sure that we're safe and use the facilities in a proper manner. The genesis of this study, next please, am I doing it? Okay, thank you. The genesis of this study was back in 2008. There was a tragic accident back on Boulder Highway near Flamingo where a person was killed and another person seriously injured. So RTC commissioned Parsons Brinkerhoff to do a study to look at an independent assessment of, is RTC following industry practices? Could additional best practices within the industry be applied to the bus stops within the Las Vegas Valley? Putting it into context, RTC serves 60 million rides per year. Within the bus stops, there's 3,156 bus stops. Among those nearly 3,200 bus stops, 1,780 either have a transit shelter or a bench. So what we did in this initial study that was commissioned in 2008 and delivered in 2009, we contacted a number of different peer agencies. We contacted nearly 24 industries to learn what they have been doing. We also conducted extensive literature search. What we found was that this problem doesn't seem to be a problem with a lot of transit agencies. RTC, we also came up with a number of recommendations which we're going to go over today. In moving forward, since what has happened since 2008, I'm glad to say that RTC has implemented a number of the recommendations that we had in our previous study. $15 million have gone into bus stop safety improvements. Over 150 bus stops are reviewed and revised annually. Currently, there's 515 bus pads have been utilized and moved into safer locations. And among those, there's nearly 500 bus stops that are located behind bus turnouts. What brings us to the current update? Again, it's been nearly 4 years since the initial study, and back in September 13th of last year, there was a tragic accident again where 4 people lost their lives and an additional 8 people were injured. What we find with this accident, as well as with all fatalities involved with trucks, with the bus shelters, is that there's common themes. Generally, the drivers are impaired, and generally there's excessive speed. There's some who are distracted driving. And unfortunately, this is a reoccurring theme. So this was, again, the reason why RTC wanted to go ahead and do another update. Are there other things that have transpired since 2008 that could be implemented to, again, further enhance the safety of bus stops? Looking at the crash analysis, focusing on since 2007, there have been 112 vehicles to transit shelter accidents. In that same 6-year period, just to put it into perspective, the Valley has suffered nearly 228,000 accidents. So the transit center accidents represent about 1 in every 2,000 accidents. Looking at the forensics, many of these accidents occur at night and are unreported. So there's no injuries. Again, we don't know if the drivers or the riders in those vehicles were injured because many of these go unreported. But looking at them, 94% of the accidents to these transit centers occur within the sidewalks. And national studies, so you see 84% of those accidents occurred within the sidewalks. National studies show that hazards within 4 feet of the roadway comprise about 80% of those accidents. So here in Las Vegas, that 84% is pretty consistent with the national average. Also, what we find in the accidents that have occurred here in Las Vegas is generally they're on higher speed roadways. So if you look at since 2007, this 6-year period, we've had 5 fatalities. Again, generally these are the commonalities: impaired driving, distracted drivings, and generally they're violating the law and oftentimes with excessive speed. Las Vegas, we have a higher rate. Again, this doesn't seem to be a national phenomenon. Las Vegas does seem to have a higher rate of incident. So generally we have about 19 incidents per year, so about 1.5 per month. Compare that to Los Angeles as an example. Los Angeles has about 1.4 accidents per month, but Los Angeles, their system carries nearly 6 times the ridership as Las Vegas, and they have about 16,000 bus shelters. So this doesn't seem to be, again, when you look at the magnitude of the system, it does seem like Las Vegas does have a higher rate. The scope of the study really doesn't have a causal effect, but we can talk about some of those issues that we believe are contributing factors to that. So through the 2008 study and then the update, we've made a number of recommendations, and there are tiered recommendations. The highest priorities are the ones that will provide the best benefit, things that can be done relatively quickly, going down the list to those areas that they may have some benefit, but they also may cause some secondary issues that are of concern. Of the primary strategies, these are things that we should really seriously consider, and of the primary strategies since 2008, RTC has implemented many of these recommendations. So placing bus shelters behind the sidewalks. Again, national studies have shown that 80% of the accidents for lateral objects adjacent to the roadway, again, 80% of those are within 4 feet. 90% of those accidents are within 6 feet. So if you move the shelters behind the sidewalk, generally that will take care of about 90% of the problems. And again, thank you for the leadership with the City of Las Vegas in providing the $1 million. This will go a long ways towards relocating a number of these shelters. So thank you very much. Another primary strategy is utilizing a pedestrian buffer. The same thought is to provide an additional factor of safety, additional width between the transit shelters and the moving vehicles. I mentioned previously that there's nearly 500 shelters that are located in this configuration behind a bus turnout. So what that does is also provide that additional factor of safety for the transit users, but it also improves the flow of the roadway. Another very important element is communications, education. Public service messages, coordinated messages to talk about transit users, sharing the road with pedestrians and bicyclists, the importance of ensuring that we don't minimize the driving while influenced, under the influence, and impaired drivers, or impaired, again, we see a lot of impairment, whether it's drivers, pedestrians. How many times have we seen a pedestrian having a Walkman and just not really paying attention to the environment? The next set of primary strategies are strategies that we believe will be very effective. However, it's not within the sole jurisdiction of RTC to implement. These would require cooperation with the jurisdictions, with the City of Las Vegas, City of Henderson, perhaps the Nevada Department of Transportation, Metro. So in this case, Ms. Quigley alluded to the Complete Streets process. The Complete Streets proposal is a proposal that really addresses the needs of all users of that roadway: motorists, drivers, transit users, bicyclists, pedestrians. This is an example in this photograph of a complete streets right on Bonnieville, right here in downtown. And on the left of the green strip is a general purpose lane for all motorists. The green strip is your bicycle lane. To the right of the bicycle lane is a transit-only lane. Then you have a very wide sidewalk. In this case, you have a number of trees. But again, that provides a very high level of safety for the transit users. And then behind those trees, it's kind of obscured, but you actually have that transit shelter. So this is also a very important component of this strategy. This lowers the speed limits. So that, again, motorists have a greater time to react and correct themselves if they find themselves veering off the traveled way. What we have found also from a national perspective is sobriety checkpoints. The Center for Disease Control has found that in communities that regularly use sobriety checkpoints as a measure, 20% of the DUI-related accidents are reduced. Now we get into the secondary measures. If you can't implement those primary measures, these have some benefit, but they also, you have to look at them individually and how you apply them. And you can, when we're talking about relocating shelters, we were really talking about shelters where there's limited right-of-way. And again, looking at areas where you can buy private rights-of-way, get donations of rights-of-way. Oftentimes in many of our streets, you have private rights-of-way where you have a block wall. So we want to be able to minimize those locations. Enhanced lighting. Enhanced lighting would not only provide an added measure of safety for our patrons during the evenings, but also makes the transit shelter more illuminated so that the motorists don't run into them. Raising the curbs. Raising curbs, again, are effective in terms of if you have a low-speed vehicle that's veering off, a higher curb at a low speed could help redirect that vehicle back onto the roadway versus going onto the sidewalk. Concrete planters, that could also be as a deterrent. It serves as another buffer between the patron and a vehicle. But again, your disadvantage is that takes up oftentimes very limited space on your sidewalks. Additional strategies, there's a number of these. They don't necessarily apply very well in an urban context. Again, visibility of the stop signs, we talked about illumination, but also you could be looking at high visible paint. You can be looking at reflective materials. That would provide, again, a greater awareness of those sites. Additional pavement marking. You can have pavement marking that says transit stop ahead. Again, gives the motorist one more alert to that there is something going on with a transit vehicle. Low profile barriers, again, these are good at redirecting the road, redirecting errant vehicles back onto the roadway, but again, they are generally for lower speeds. These are our lowest priority in terms of, that's why we call them the last resort mitigation measures. You can use reinforced trash receptacles, as I mentioned previously. The disadvantage there is that they take up valuable and sometimes limited sidewalk space. Again, Mr. Kristoff talked about ADA compliance. Sometimes this creates a barrier to ADA compliance. And generally these reinforced trash barriers are, again, only effective for very low speed vehicles. Handrails, although they could be attractive, they generally don't serve well as a deterrent for vehicles. Bollards is something that we really want to take a look at. We thought that it may have some good potential for application here to remedy the situation. But bollards are really used for, again, low speed application. In the photograph that you see below, this is an application in Tucson, Arizona. This is a low volume rural road. You can notice in that photograph the transit shelter is set back well away from the traveled way. And it's really as one just additional measure, but additional measures and considerations for bollards, again, in the next photograph. It's really used as a separation. Bollards are, typically they are anchored. Highway design guidelines recommend that you provide minimal fixed objects adjacent to a roadway. A bollard could introduce a fixed object that could create even more serious consequences. As an example, I mentioned that since 2007, 112 accidents have occurred. Again, that resulted in 5 fatalities. However, again, many of these are unreported. If you had bollards in all these transit center locations and you had 112 accidents, how many of those accidents would the driver or the riders have suffered serious consequences, death, serious injuries? Bollards also, you have an issue of if they're high volume bollards, they're anchored deeper than they are above the ground. So typically they would be 30 inches above the ground, perhaps 48 inches below the ground, and they don't move, and they tend to destroy a car. And you also have the potential of shrapnel going into, so it creates other impacts that you, so bollards we would say is used sparingly. So in conclusion, there is no one size that fits all. However, you really need to look at the issue. I think different from the 2008 study, RTC moving forward with a complete streets concept focusing on lower speed roadways, I think is a great step forward. RTC has taken a number of steps to enhance the safety of the transit stops, and with that, I would be pleased to entertain any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Sam. Comments or questions from the board?
How might we be thinking about integrating all of these solutions as we go forward with road design and construction to make sure that we're always looking at our bus stations and ensuring something is being addressed?
Well, Commissioner, I think many of those elements are already being integrated, so there isn't a single solution. So the complete streets concept that is being moved forward integrates many of these individual elements. And then again, RTC's constant focus on relocating bus stops and shelters. Again, right now they're focusing on 150 a year. And I think those measures are really, RTC is to be commended in terms of focusing on this very serious issue and remedying and making our transit stops safer.
And these discussions are occurring in the Public Works Directors groups as well. Okay, great.
Correct. Yeah.
Thank
we
you.
will be bringing to you next month the design manual that has been approved and it's recommended for approval by you from your Public Works Directors.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. And it's important to note that over the last 5 years, a lot of work has been done. A lot of investment has been made. And some of the concerns that were brought up with the earlier speaker, they're legitimate. But we don't have unlimited resources, so we have to continue just going after incremental success. And even after 5 years, we look back and we've done some very positive things regarding this issue. And the message I'm hearing today is simply try to identify additional funding, perhaps get more aggressive, and some other creative things.
I'll also say that part of our study was to address whether or not RTC is applying industry practices. And I'd have to say, again, between 2008 and our update of this study, we've contacted nearly 40 transit properties. I can say with confidence that RTC is moving forward with best industry practices relative to this issue.
Thank you. Do we
Mr.
need
Chairman?
to accept this report?
Mr. Chairman, could I just ask a
Councilwoman.
question? Did you say that you're looking at improving 150 a year? I didn't quite get that.
Yes, RTC is committed to relocating, they're constantly looking at the bus stops throughout the system. Again, there's over nearly 3,200 bus stops, and each year they are relocating and improving and enhancing the safety of 150. With your donation, I think that may be able to move higher.
Well, I just was thinking for our former speaker and relating to what our chairman said, it's not that nothing's being done, it's just that you can't do it all. And that's what I was trying to get across when I spoke with the lady. We have made some big progress, and I didn't know we were getting 150 a year, every year, so that's good.
Yes,
and I'm
we
going to
have
pass that
budgeted-
information on. Thank you very much.
We have budgeted to either relocate or install new shelters at 150 locations every year.
And when you do that, you're not just taking care of the safety, but also the ADA situation.
Correct,
They're going
yep.
hand in hand.
Councilman Ross.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I recall at that press conference that Councilwoman Tarkanian held over by the Meadows Mall the other day, Mr. Chairman, you mentioned that $1 million from the city, you mentioned a $1 million challenge to the other jurisdictions as well.
Yeah, we did challenge.
We did. I'm not sure if that letter's been sent, but you may want to keep an eye on the mailbox next week. Thank you. I would make a motion to accept the report and staff direction as indicated by the board members. Motion on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Our next agenda item is item number 33. And that is 32. Okay, I'm stand corrected. It's item number 32, and Assistant General Manager MJ Maynard will address the board.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, item 32 is to receive a report on the transit vehicle advertising franchise and plans to solicit proposals for continuation of the franchise, approve staff recommendations of the solicitation considerations, authorize the issuance of the solicitation, and authorize staff to negotiate a contract or take other action. But Mr. Chairman, upon further reflection, we'd like to bring back to you at a future date your approval of the proposed contract. Sharon Howd, our purchasing manager, will present this item.
Thank you very much, MJ. Good morning, Commission. Again, my name is Sharon Howd, and I'm the RTC Purchasing and Contracts Manager. Today, I bring you a brief report on the transit vehicle advertising request for proposal considerations. This project will provide the project management for coordinating transit vehicle advertising on the exterior and the interior of the RTC's transit vehicle fleet of approximately 384 fixed route and 311 paratransit vehicles. The current contract is with Vector Mira and expires September 30th of this year, 2013. The outcome of the solicitation will be a revenue share contract with the most qualified proposer. Staff has some recommendations for the board to consider in regards to the solicitation of this project. First of all, with regards to the structure of the solicitation, we do recommend a request for proposal, which is a qualifications-based solicitation, which will include the revenue share proposal. Industry review, we do recommend that we solicit industry input on this request for proposal. The last time a solicitation was done for these services was in 2005. And given the interest we have already received in the solicitation of the anticipation of issuance of this new solicitation, staff would appreciate a review of the RFP document and input from the industry. Contract terms, staff recommends a 5-year base term with 2 additional options to renew. 1 3-year option and 1 2-year option. This is based on an economic analysis survey conducted by staff in January and based on input by potential proposers to recover their initial investment and realize a reasonable economic return on that investment. And lastly, staff recommends the following evaluation criteria and weights. Price, 50%, management structure and key personnel, 12.5%, experience and references, 10%, innovation, 7.5%, transition and startup plan, 7.5%, staffing and personnel plan, 5%, operations management plan, 5%, employee training plan, 2.5%. With that, staff seeks from the board approval of solicitation considerations just reviewed and authorization to issue the solicitation. And as MJ said, a recommendation for selection of the most qualified proposer will be submitted to the board for approval at a future meeting, along with along with approval of the contract at a future meeting. With that, I can answer any questions.
Thank you. Comments or questions? Councilman Ross.
Susan, thank you very much for that.
Sure.
For that presentation. Is this something we have to do per law or NRS that requires us to do that, or is
to go back out with the RFP?
Yeah.
With the request for proposal? Sharon, you want to go?
Actually, as I said, the last time this proposal was done was 2005, and we have extended it a couple of times since then. The law, actually, the FTA requires us that if we have, if we're going to be using assets which were purchased with federal funds for revenue share, that they do require a competitive solicitation. And the economic analysis is part of that requirement.
Thank you.
And I'd just like to comment, we have a great relationship with our current vendor, and we are doing this because it's the right thing to do, to bring it forward regularly, to introduce some competition into it.
So you're suggesting that the next time we see an agenda item would be award of the contract?
Actually, the next time you'll see agenda item will be for the selection of a proposer and authorization to negotiate a contract.
Okay. I guess this is an appropriate time to bring up the RTC policy of no communication until the award is made. And I don't know what the other agencies do, but I, for one, am more comfortable with allowing the applicants to at least meet with me once it's posted prior to the meeting. I feel like it's just, my hands are tied when it gets to that point. But that said, I'd like to move forward with this. Could I move forward with this and ask that the staff put an agenda item on the board meeting to take a look at that policy?
Certainly, or you could direct staff to include that lobbying provision in this request for proposals.
Well, I don't know if I'm outside what's posted, but I certainly don't want to speak on behalf of my colleagues. I'd rather bring it back for the public discussion.
For this one particular proposal, you could vote on that at this time. For the policy in general, that would require a separate agenda item.
Speak now or forever hold your peace. Any thoughts on that? I know that we have chosen to do it both ways on some.
Actually,
I take that back. Maybe we consistently do it. None.
Oh, I believe the only time that we've applied this, the silent period all the way through until the commission meeting day was for this RFP regarding fixed route transit.
Okay, so you're proposing that we would be allowed to hear from the applicants?
At your pleasure, sure.
Not at my pleasure. If that's what you're doing,
Yeah.
At your pleasure, you're...
Yes.
Clarify when the code of silence ends.
Well, the code of silence would begin upon the issuance of the final RFP. Right now, what we're proposing is that the draft RFP is released fairly soon, like probably within the next week, for the industry review. And then once we collect the comments on the industry review and make those changes to the document, the RFP document, then it would be issued, the silent period would start, and then there would be no lobbying until until it's posted for the selection of the proposer.
A week before the commission meeting.
And we
Yeah,
post on
approximately
the
a week
Thursday.
before.
Our policy is to post on the Thursday prior.
Yes.
Okay, very good.
Yes.
Any other comments or questions? Entertain a motion. Move for approval. Motion on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 33, that the Regional Transportation Commission of Southern Nevada receive a recommendation from the Evaluation Committee to select MV Transportation, Inc. to perform RTC operation and maintenance of fixed route transit services, Lot A, in accordance with request for proposal 12-081, and approve contract number 12-081A between the RTC and MV from the date of notice to proceed through July 6th, 2017, with 4 two-year options, and authorize the chairman to sign the contract or take other action as deemed appropriate. Now, you'll recall back in July, we issued the RFP. It was a two-step process, wherein in the first phase, we reviewed purely technical criteria. And we had an evaluation panel of 3 internal and 3 external reviewers. So 3 RTC staff and 3 non-RTC staff. In that first phase, that purely technical criteria, they took a look at things such as management structure, experience, transition, startup plan, staffing and personnel plan, field service supervisor and operations maintenance plan, employee training plan, vehicle maintenance plan, etc. As a result of that, in Lot A, we advanced 3 firms forward. That was MV Transportation, Keolis Transit America, and Veolia Transportation Services. And as part of this phase 2, we took a look at price with a weighted score of 70%, and technical score was weighted 30%. The resulting scores are shown on the slide. MV Transportation, their technical score was 24.63. Keolis's technical score 26.87, and Veolia's technical score 25.97. The price score, again, weighted 70%. MV scored 100% of the points, earning 70 points. Keolis, 64.3, and Veolia, 63.76. The highest ranking firm then is MV Transportation. The prices that were submitted are shown. The total base bid, which was that 4-year term, for MV is $159,373,722. For Keolis was $168,984,000, and for Veolia, $180,484,985. The option years were, again, 4 2-year options. When you add those together with the base bid, MV is the lowest bidder with $525,707,909. We have with us today representatives from TransPro, who were our external reviewers, our financial analysts who reviewed the numbers to make sure that these numbers were fair and reasonable and also represented some level of realism. So with us is Mark Ash, who is the CEO of TransPro, and he is available to answer any questions that the board may have regarding the numbers.
Okay. Comments or questions from the board up to this point?
I think so, Mr. Chairman. We see
Councilman Ross, if I may,
Yeah.
what and then please, with your comments, we have a group that are directly or indirectly involved in this, and I have Mr. Mendoza, Veolia. So there's a group that I'd like to ask to speak after the board is through, and then the large pile, I'm assuming it's from some of the ATU members, but I don't want to say that everyone has listed that. So what I'd like to do after your comments is go in that direction. Have at least ask for the opportunity if anybody wants to speak that has been directly involved with it, the companies that are being recommended for award, and anyone else, and then move to the public side of it. That's okay. Councilman Ross.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think, Ms. Quigley, I think both on this agenda item and the following, were there's not significant savings to the RTC in going out? Can you speak to that briefly for us, please?
I can. It's tough to do a pure apples-to-apples comparison of the results of these bids versus the bid that we got last year from First Transit. But if you're doing the best that we can, taking a look at it at 30,000-foot level, it looks like we're saving about $1 million over the life of the contracts.
And, Mr. Chairman, through the chair, that being said, that's significant in regards to where we were a while ago. And I see, and remember you, in some briefing documentation, I saw that savings.
Yeah, it's about $1.4 million over the full term, the 12-year terms of the contracts.
Well, I made some comments the last time we went through this dance that, you know, if everybody sharpened their pencils, we might actually see some better numbers.
And I want to clarify again, I'm comparing the former bid from our last go-around where we're going to award to a First Transit compared to the compilation of these two bids, Lot A and Lot B, this time around.
No, that nice. I understand that, but still the same. You know, after going back and sharpening some pencils, we got some better numbers, on both of these agenda items. I just wanted to point that out. So thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will probably have some more comments.
Okay. Thank you, Councilwoman March.
I just wanted to ask and clarify. All of these companies that made application have capacity. That was the first thing that we looked at with that 30%. So they either are national or world-class companies with projects that are significant in size as well. So they have a demonstrated ability. So when they came to the table with that first phase, we evaluated their capacity.
Correct. Both firms that we're recommending today have over 100 contracts in the United States.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman. So what you were explaining to Councilman Ross was comparing it to the First Transit contract. But under this RFP, we're showing close to a little over $50 million savings over the 12-year contract. Correct?
Correct.
Between the highest and the
between the
lowest
highest bidder
bidder
and the lowest bidder, yes, there is a
Okay.
$50 million spread. And certainly there was a lot of talk last year when we again had $50 million difference
But
between.
that was over a 3-year spread. It was a 3-year
seven.
contract, correct?
It was 7 years.
7 years,
It was, yeah,
okay.
50 million over
That's
7
right.
years. So
And this
time
one's over a 12-year.
12-year, correct.
Okay, so.
So yeah, I mean, we certainly did have a lot of talk last year about one company being $50 million below the incumbent. And so it was intriguing to see it happen again. And I think what that tells us is that there is the ability does exist out there to lower the rates and still provide the service. And the fact that we had the third-party financial review, financial analyst take a look at it, we were able to confirm that there was a sense of fairness, reasonableness, and realism to it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Councilman Hafen.
Just to follow up with what Tina said, maybe we could have Mark just reiterate that since he came, he was one of the that analyzed this whole thing, and I know we had staff do it as well, but just maybe give us a little for the benefit of the public.
Thank you very much. We did go through the proposal for Lot A. Obviously, MV was the proposal that was advanced through the process, and we went through a rather exhaustive analysis to determine two things. One, was the proposal considered to be fair and reasonable under federal procurement guidelines? And we have concluded that indeed, yes, it is fair and reasonable to RTC. And the second was to address the question as to whether or not the bid had a level of realism to it. And so with that, we stripped back the proposal, going through literally line by line the budget submissions that were in the proposal, and have concluded that indeed, with the price that was submitted, there is a level of realism associated with the bid.
And would you state your name for the record?
Be happy to. It's Mark Ash, A-E-S-C-H, and I am the CEO of Transpro.
Thank you, Mark. Councilman Ross.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Quigley, and Mark, this doesn't apply to you, but you should listen to it anyway. Last year, there was discussion that should we change service providers, that our operators would be losing jobs, losing benefits, and the whole 9 yards. I'm concerned about the current employees and how all that fits together, not on both of these agenda items.
All right. Now, that is well-deserved, and you've been so well-behaved. He only gets one of those every few minutes.
Well, I think that's significant because you talk about these great, these numbers are, where these numbers are, providing that level of service, but the other number in this equation are our operators and that transition. And that has to be spoken of in some context. So certainly we as a board have a level of security in regards to how the existing employees are going to be treated during this whole transfer process. So can you address that?
Sure, and I just want to let everybody know in the audience and on the board that Councilman Ross has continually reminded us throughout this process that we need to be working to ensure that organized labor needs have been met. And so to answer your question, I can let you know that certainly as part of the RFP, priority employment goes to current employees. The firms were required to negotiate a CBA with any labor organization selected, that the CBA must include health, retirement, grievance procedures, and recognition of seniority. However, they are not bound to the previous operator's CBA. You are very welcome.
But
Thank
Tina,
you for asking.
and okay, but Mary, if I could just say, wasn't this something that the entire board, and I know you always used to give the greatest emphasis, but we stated very early on that we wanted this done in that type of way.
You did.
So there was always a feeling that this was going to be done, and I know this entire board requested that that be a top priority.
Yes, exactly. You guys made it very clear that and there is an obligation associated with the RFP that they have to maintain the stability of the workforce. And in this economy, stability is very important.
Very good. And I would ask those future speakers to listen to all the comments and questions, and if during your time if you want to clarify, because there is some misinformation out there, which happens often. So if today, if nothing else, we want to try to get to some factual statements, what this board can and can't do, gingerly approach as far as the labor, because that is going to be a separate issue as far as the negotiations. But have patience. Again, thank you for being so patient to this point. And now what I'm going to do, any other questions? Mayor Tobler.
Councilman Tarkanian pointed this out, but we did have a lengthy discussion on this early on as part of the RFP process. And I believe regarding the hiring preferences, we pushed that as far as we could go legally within the RFP process. Correct. If I remember, we had the attorney over the RFP explain that process to us, and we, I think, went as far as we could as far as preference, correct?
That's right. You can't force them to adopt the existing CBA, but our language is as strong as we could make it to move towards that.
Correct. Okay. Thank you. This is what I'd like to do. In the first group would be representatives from Veolia. The second group will be those firms that have been recommended today. And Mr. Mendoza, you're in that first group, so I'll ask you. You can speak first, second, or third in this first round of speakers.
I'd rather speak now, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Get it out of the way. Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. At this time, I would like to provide you a copy of what position we're taking in regards to this RFP. If somebody could just hand it over to each commissioner.
Okay, could you hold off the clock until we get those in front of us?
Also, Mr. Commissioner.
Restart.
I just wanted to say that one of our brothers from some 15 years ago, I'm just going to put this here so it could be shown on the TV as to what happened 11 years ago, and we hope it doesn't come to that. And when you're ready, I'll go ahead and start our statement.
Let everybody get this. Okay.
Okay, to the Honorable RTC Commissioners, ladies and gentlemen, ATU Local 1637 asks that if not all of you agree with the bargaining unit employees, which we exclusively represent under our CBA with Veolia, we sure hope that at least 4 of you do not accept the recommendations made by the RTC staff to the selections for Lot A and Lot B for the following reasons. First, RTC staff and about 270 employees enjoy the current CBA, which was negotiated by some RTC staff members and the SEIU. This department has an estimated $33 million annual budget alone. These are the few privileged citizens of Las Vegas who enjoy good wages, probably about 10 paid holidays, and we are sure a good health plan, Nevada PERS, and who knows what else. Why is that the general manager, Ms. Quigley, and her staff decided to ignore that our current CBA not be part of this RFP, as it has been done before on other RFPs? Is it because after the commissioners approve the recommendations, the RTC staff can go huddle and see how much more raises and bennies they will add to their CBA? Second, RTC staff is now asking the commissioners to throw all of our bargaining unit and the non-representative Veolia employees to the dogs and start negotiations with 2 companies that are also in it for profit and not for the interest of the employees of Veolia. We are about 1,000 employees. These staff members who have made the recommendations to the commissioners, are they the same staff who negotiates their CBA with the SEIU? Keep in mind that not only will your decision affect the 1,000 employees, but also our families, which will be over 5,000 Las Vegas citizens. ATU Local 1637 is seeking parity, not disparity. Third, we are human beings who work for a living and want decent pay to support our families. We do not want cheap labor pay, because if that is going to be the commissioner's decision, Then the ATU asked that the commissioners subcontract all public employees who are protected under public law who work for the RTC. We are sure General Manager Quigley, Ms. Quigley wouldn't appreciate her 6-figure salary go to a 5-figure salary. As a matter of fact, housekeeping workers on the strip make $15 to start. Our operators don't get to that rate until they have been employed for 3 years. Yes, our bargaining unit is being treated as second-class citizens by the RTC staff. Fourth, from the very beginning, ATU Local 1637 been against the splitting of the yards since it was discussed and initiated, but our concerns have gone ignored. We have heard, can I please finish? Mr. Commissioner, we have heard commissioners praise the drivers for their hard work and professionalism, and now you want to tell us, tough, deal with the private contractors, and we rather approve a CBA with a few public employees who work for the RTC and their union representative. Your actions are telling the 1,000 employees to deal with what we tell you and deal with it. Almost done. Okay, and fifth, all Local 1637 is not seeking work disruption, but should you move forward and approve the RTC's recommendations, and if for any reason we see possible strike, we will be prepared and more prepared than 2002 strike that occurred here back then. Furthermore, your actions by ignoring our pleas will also hurt the riding public. 6, it appears that some of the RTC staff didn't want First Transit on the first round of this RFP, and now Veolia by eliminating them from the process to run the fixed routes and maintenance. If that is the case, a motion is in order by the commissions to instruct the RTC staff to immediately seek a CBA with the ATU if the RTC does not want Veolia around anymore, because the ATU is going nowhere, and we will continue being outspoken and protect the interests of the bargaining unit employees. We are tired of being treated as second-class citizens. Finally, as former president of 2 ATU locals that were operated by public entities, I never saw the injustices that I have seen here, but again, this public entity rather subcontract the fixed route and maintenance work and treat some Las Vegas citizens like second class. Should the commissioners move forward and approve the RTC's recommendations, as a single parent like some others under the bargaining unit and those who are the sole earners of their family household, are you willing to tell our sons and daughters that your actions just cost mommy and daddy their jobs, because it can happen when we have to reapply for employment with the new employers? Thank you very much, and God bless.
And appreciate the applause for Mr. Mendoza, but if you could demonstrate some restraint and respect as the next speakers get up, we can move through this. The first for Veolia, I have Mark Joseph. Hey, if Mark, excuse me, if you would just do us the courtesy, hold the applause till at the end, because a lot of you have to speak. And if we give that 3 minutes and a couple applauses, we'll be here till 4 or 5 tonight. But we want to give the respect to the speaker.
Chairman Brown, as a former baseball player, I know you'll appreciate this, but if you don't mind, I'd prefer to bat cleanup and let Chris Kempfer go first, and Bruce Woodbury, as well as Alan Muldower, and then I'll follow. Thank you.
All right, then we will have those 4 speakers.
Mr. Chairman, if I might please, Chris Kempfer here on behalf of Veolia. I see the clock ticking down with 3 minutes. Veolia has been here for 20 years. We've received national acclaim working with the RTC. I'd respectfully ask that we please be given some additional time. some of the issues that I would like to address, and I know Mr. Woodbury, who is here also on behalf of Veolia, would like to address, may take some additional time. So if I could respectfully ask for that consideration.
We will play it by ear. Right now, we have designated 12 minutes set aside, so I wouldn't want to see it going too far north of that.
Okay. Well, then let me just say good morning.
And now with that introduction, since I gave Ms. Mendoza a restart, I will provide the same courtesy to Veolia. Mr. Kemfer, you have a restart. So you just stole 45 seconds.
All right, thank you. First and foremost, I'm going to take some time because I want to thank your staff very much. With an RFP of this complexity and importance, it takes a lot of work. And I want to make clear that we very much appreciate the work that Tina has done, and MJ and Lydia and Chris Figgins. So thank you very much, first off the bat. Secondly, we want to extend our best wishes to Keolis. They won the bid regarding Lot B fair and square. The amount of their bid reflects their endeavor to honor the terms of the collective bargaining agreement to the extent that they can, and make sure that the biggest and most important asset in this process, the men and women who drive and maintain our buses, are continued to be compensated properly and fairly for the work they do. Now that brings me to Lot B and the concerns we at Veolia have that cannot go unstated. The first process that we all went through with regard to First Transit and Veolia was painful for everybody, including those on this board. That is obviously why, right or wrong, a determination was made that there would be no contact from the time the RFP was issued until this date. Unfortunately, that also limits the kind of information we can get, such as the report that you just heard. We've not seen that. We don't know what that's based on. It limits the kinds of questions we can ask of you and of the RTC. And so I'm glad to see in this other RFP that you've gone back to the traditional, once it's posted on the agenda, you can ask some questions. But again, that's not information that we've had. If you recall, Mr. Chairman, in fact, with the previous application, a financial report was submitted 2 days prior to the hearing, and you suggested that in the future, that kind of information should be available well in advance of the hearing. But again, that's not a criticism, it's just a factual statement as to where we are now and why some additional time might be needed. In any event, when this present RFP process was commenced, it was clear from the very beginning and from the record of the RTC hearing and from the comments of this board at RTC meetings that this process, this time around, was going to be different. This time around, there was going to be a level playing field, a fair level playing field, where wages and benefits would not be different for everybody. There was a commitment made that these people out here who drive and maintain the buses would not be victimized nor made pawns by this process. This time around.
Excuse me, Mr. Kemfer, could you just keep the clock running so we're tracking? You don't have to reset it to 3. Do we have the ability to just let it run? With this technology, I guess we'll reset it at...
All right. This time around, that what they were paid would not be dependent on the company for whom they worked. Can you imagine that? What a terrible position to be in. What you get paid depends on who wins an RFP. These people should not be in that position. Now, I want to go over just some comments that were made, and I'll do that quickly. As you might recall, there was discussion at the November 8, 2012 RTC hearing about making the collective bargaining agreement part of the RFP. And it was determined that because of the lateness and the suggestion that maybe you couldn't, it was determined that the RFP itself would not become part of the this RFP process. However, it was made crystal clear that that RFP was to be taken into consideration. There was to be an acknowledgement by the parties of that fact. In fact, Commissioner Ross, in responding to a question, a very legitimate question from Commissioner March, you said the intent is to move forward in good faith, representing that there are existing employees and there is an existing collective bargaining agreement in place with one of the proposers. I think it is significant to recognize that. We have wanted throughout the entire process a fair, level playing field. I think it's too late to change the RFP process, but it's important to get on the record of what our expectations are as a board. We want to make sure, we want to show how this transition is going to occur. Commissioner Marsh, you responded. I would concur and support that. Commissioner Giuliani then discussed the issue of the 70%, and she said, quote, I need to understand how this works. So everyone is on a level playing field. Later, Commissioner Brown, you said, and I quote, I know where Councilman Ross is going, and I think the board supports that. You then cautioned, you said, however, you don't want it to affect the integrity of the RFP, to which your county counsel, Mary Ann Miller, said, I think in response to Mr. Ross's request, I think the proponents can say that they understand the direction of the board. Of course, we don't want them to advocate anything on the merits. She did not want them standing up saying what a great company they were or whatever, but they would stand up and say, we acknowledge the direction of this board. Now, after that, each of the three proponents got up ostensibly to state for the record that they understood the clear direction of the board. Veolia said they did. Keolis said, quote, it is our intent to work with the union. You can count on us to do a good job with that. Thank you. MV stated, it's a pleasure to be here today. Less is more, and I have heard and I understand. Well, honestly, I have to ask you if MV really did understand the direction of this board. If they really did understand what a fair and level playing field is. If they really did understand that a collective bargaining agreement is in place. If they really did understand your direction that this time around, wages and benefits was not going to be such an important difference for these people out here. If they really did understand what you wanted to get accomplished. And you know why I question that? Because the bid from Keolis is $572 million total bid. The bid from Veolia is $577 million. And yet the bid from MV is $525 million, $47 to $52 million less than the other two bids. This is not one less than one bidder. This is one bidder who is less than two other bidders by $47 to $52 million. You don't get to that difference by gas and oil because that cost is a constant. You don't get there because you maintain the buses a little better or because maybe you trim profits. No way you get there without affecting wages and benefits. There's just no way that you get there. Now, we've been down that path before, and you said we aren't going to go down there again, and we're doing the exact same thing. If you award this contract to MV, I can guarantee you that one of four things will happen, and none of them are good. MV will be right back up here, as they've done in the past, saying, we need more money to perform this contract. Or they will not offer these employees anything close to the wages and benefits that others are offering. Or they will do what they have done before, which is a two-tier system, where they say, hey, we'll pay you people who are here now, we'll pay you the same money, but when somebody comes in new, we're going to pay him appreciably less. Well, I can tell you that's not how a union operates. When you're driving, you care as much about that guy next to you as you do about yourself. And to suggest that they're going to save $47 to $52 million without getting rid of the higher paid employees is nonsense. Or fourth, the worst thing that could happen is you're going to have labor unrest, and it may lead to something that none of us wants. So there was a warning, a prayer, a promise that you guys said. Don't make wages and benefits the issue anymore. Take that off the table. Keolis did, and congratulations to them. Veolia did. MV did not. MV made wages and benefits the issue again, and there is no way that approval of this contract will do anything other than allow for the problems that I've enumerated. If you...
Mr. Kemfer, you are now encroaching on
I
future
am done.
speakers' time.
I am done. I just asked one of two things. One of two things. Either reject the bid because you know it's based on wages and benefits that are not fair, or hold that particular one, or award the other one. Hold this for 30 days so that you can examine exactly how they're getting to that $47 to $50 million difference. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, good morning. Happy Valentine's Day. Bruce Woodbury. In light of what's gone on, I know I have to talk fast, so I'll try to do that. Not long ago, I was here on behalf of First Transit on the first RFP for the new bus contract. Today, please allow me to say a few words on behalf of Veolia. Mr. Chairman, I would ask that you or any member of the board should I in any way say anything inconsistent with what I said then, please feel free to interrupt me, tell me to shut up and sit down, because that would be hypocritical, and I'm not going to do that. Of course, it is Valentine's Day, so I hope you'll be generous in that regard. As I said then, and as I say all the time, it was one of the great privileges of my life to serve on the RTC and as chairman and to work with this wonderful staff and with the representatives of the county and the city over many years. I also told you during my comments on behalf of First Transit that I always had the highest of regard for Veolia, for its management and employees. I made the motion more than once to award the fixed route contract to Veolia. They've always served us and our community very well. However, between two very strong companies, I urged you, as you recall, to award the contract to First Transit because you would have saved some money. Veolia was considered the best on technical factors at that time. Of course, you know the history. The board was deadlocked over these proposals. First Transit initiated litigation. Then something very significant happened, and everything changed, and that was the new collective bargaining agreement with the drivers and the employees. With that agreement, it's had a profound effect upon that first RFP, and I think it should be the primary focus of your concern on this RFP. The immediate effect was that First Transit determined that its proposed contract was no longer viable. If they were to honor the CBA as they fully intended to do, so they in effect pulled the plug. They settled with the RTC, and that led to this new RFP for Lot A and Lot B. At that point, everyone, Veolia, First Transit, the RTC, all of the employees realized that any new proposal had to be similar to Veolia's to maintain the service levels, to avoid labor disruptions, and hopefully to make a small profit as well. Now, First Transit and Veolia are the same great companies they were then, but now, only several months later, First Transit didn't even make the cut, and Veolia's comparative technical rankings are the same general range as the others. I think you can understand why we don't fully understand how that could be. However, what we want to focus on today is the pricing element of this proposal. In that regard, as Mr. Kemper said, two of the companies have recognized the reality of the collective bargaining agreement, as First Transit had to do when they realized that their proposal the first time became untenable. But with all due respect, the third company, MB, has not. Now, if you as a board are comfortable with that situation and the resulting rankings, so be it. Veolia will accept it and move on. I can only express my sincere belief that at least some of you, your great staff, some of you on the board, feel at least some considerable degree of anxiety about the MV proposal. I can only urge you to be very careful, very cautious, very skeptical about such an extreme lowball price. I have no doubt that MV is a good company in many respects, but when a pricing proposal appears to be so unrealistic in light of the CBA and all the surrounding circumstances, the result will invariably one of three things. One, you will end up with unacceptable levels of service on behalf of the provider. Or second, you will see confrontations with labor unions on wages and benefits and disruptions of service. Or three, after you are locked in, you will be presented with requests for contract amendments to increase the price. Now, I have no firsthand knowledge of what I'm about to relate to you. However, respected people who I consider reliable, and I think who you consider reliable, have given me information about the history and the reputation, where on more than one occasion, on many occasions, MV has made such low requests and come back and requested more money. And I've been shown a list of at least some of these, and that's a very long list. So I would respectfully request and suggest that you may want to take a little time to look into that history, into that situation, and fully evaluate it. Now, your staff evaluation should be given the greatest of weight. But when it comes to pricing, the staff didn't have to evaluate it. They didn't make a judgment. They simply gave you the dollars that were presented by the companies. There's no subjective evaluation there. So nobody is asking you to reject any evaluation by the staff. The bottom line is that if I'm wrong and you are fully comfortable with it, then by all means approve it as it is, and VLDA will cooperate in the transition. If, on the other hand, you're not totally convinced that this is a responsive or responsible proposal in pricing, in light of the collective bargaining agreement and the surrounding circumstances, you have the right to reject it and to select the other companies that have been realistic in their determination. Or you can at least, at this point, give yourself a month to fully evaluate your level of what I think is probably some discomfort about this, and before you make a decision that you might later regret very much. So I thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Mr. Moldauer and Mr. Joseph, you two got to be tight, and I don't want to tell the CEO he's shut off, but I mean, I just heard a lot, so.
Mark, perhaps you want to come up with me? We'll try to share our 3 minutes.
And the reason I say this, folks, is there is part of this RFP, there is a procedure for either appeal or protest, and I'll have Mary Ann get into this. So I respect the fact that there's a record being made here, but this is not, other than a brief record, your avenue to move to the next step is not here at the public hearing. It's through the RFP process. Mary Ann, am I okay on that?
You are okay.
Okay.
Well, I'm sorry.
Please.
Yes, Mr. Brown and Commissioners, I'm Alan Moldauer, Executive Vice President and General Counsel of VLDA Transportation. With me is Mark Joseph, our Chairman and CEO, and I will try to make my remarks as brief as possible. My task here was to come here and thank you for 20 years of partnership. For more than 20 years, it's been our privilege to support you through the growth and development of an outstanding transit system. It's been, in many respects, as Mark will say often, a labor of love. Without a doubt, we can be very proud of what we've accomplished. Together, we've opened the Simmons and Sunset facilities, introduced MAX BRT services, deployed Deuce vehicles, expanded BRT services with the Wright Group vehicles. Over the past several years, we have weathered rough economic times together. We have sacrificed financially for the good of all. We have withstood record-setting cold and hot, protected our employees' health benefits and other benefits, and faced and met the occasional challenges of our labor partners together. The final product of all of these efforts and achievements is that we've built one of the largest privately operated transit systems in the country into one of the top 10, one of the very best in the country. We can be very proud of that. It's worth noting that none of this has been accomplished. None of it has been accomplished through one promise or one written proposal or the personality of a single person in this room. It's been accomplished through hard, dedicated work over time, honesty and integrity and transparency both by the RTC and by ourselves, and the maturing of two organizations with resources that are deep in talent and experience, not just here, but throughout the country. What is difficult for us today, particularly, is to understand how two companies with little to no experience in dealing with a system of this size and complexity could score technically on a par or above Veolia Transportation after the 20 years of dedicated service that we have put in here. Likewise, in terms of price, we try to understand how a 20-year relationship could be cast aside for a 1% difference over a 10-year in price, or how the Commission could at all accept a price that is a full 9% below what the RTC knows it will cost to operate it. The RTC has, as you know, audited us through a forensic auditing accounting firm, forensic accounting firm that came and spent 2 weeks at our offices, that studied what it actually cost to operate this system. And you know that over the past 2 years, we have been losing money, despite employing the best in the way of efficiencies and the best in the way of performance that we possibly could. So why have we fought to stay here? We fought to stay here the past 2 years, but for one primary reason. You know that we've been losing money, then we haven't been staying here for profit. And I'll quickly conclude, Mr. Chairman. When financial pressures hit the RTC, we felt them keenly as well. You came to us and we reduced our price, we reduced our hours of service, and as a result, we turned a contract that was marginally profitable into a losing contract the last 2 years. We fought to stay here because of one reason, and it's primarily our employees. We know that pricing and competency is key to the welfare of these employees, these 1,000 strong, some of whom are here today, and their families. These men and women deserve our respect for the job they do, and they deserve decent wages and benefits. In the least, they are not highly paid, but they certainly deserve to have what they are paid and the benefits that they do have today protected by the RTC. We come here to make that point clear to you. That is why we are standing here today, and we are fighting on behalf of them as well as ourselves. In the very least, the RTC should not be an accomplice to reducing benefits, whether it's family medical coverage, which we believe they may lose, or whether it's a two-tier wage system that will be harmful to this community as a whole. Finally, I have to close by saying that we have fought to stay here because we've been proud to be your partners for the last 20 years. We truly have. We're proud to be a member of the Las Vegas community. We've been proud to be a contributor to the community, and we're proud to call Las Vegas our home. Thank you, Mr. Brown. Thank you, all the commissioners. We thank you, staff. We thank you for your leadership, your professionalism, and your friendship. And now I'd like to turn over whatever time we have left to Mr. Joseph. Thank you.
You've left me very little time. Mr. Chairman and Commissioner, staff, and all those in attendance, I wish you and your family a very happy Valentine's Day, and I would ask at the end of the day that we still hope that you'll be our Valentine. You know, we have valued this partnership, as Alan Moldauer said, for the past 20 years. We value it as a labor of love, and we care deeply about you, your service, the riders, and our employees. And I come from Washington, which is the capital of spin, and you can spin anything there. but I can tell you the absolute truth, and you have the facts before you, that we are the only contractor in this room who runs anything like this. You can look at all the contracts around the country, even around the world, that run any service similar to this, that knows our costs. You've been through our books deeper than any other customer we have, and you've seen that we've lost money on this service. So where does the savings come from? I will just say this. Our employees are not overpaid. When they start here during training, these employees are making $9.30 an hour. After 6 months, when they complete training, they're at $11.30, and after a year, they're at $13 to drive a $1 million bus through heavy traffic. And when housekeepers in Las Vegas are making $15 an hour, and we've had to compete with the hotels and others who hire wages far beyond ours. There's no room, absolutely no room for a 9% savings that will take it out of their pockets. There are many ways to try to do it, converting full-time employees to part-time, taking away the health benefits that you've heard about, or restructuring the wages and compensation, or trying to ask for more money. After 20 years as your partner, we first thank you for your confidence in us and for the opportunity, and we ask you to take your time. We know you care deeply about this service, and you took the time last time to debate it and study and analyze. We ask you to take 30 days, really dig into these numbers and see where this difference is, see how this is going to happen, and see what kind of a precarious position it puts these employees or the service, which is among the best in the country, at risk. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Mr. McLeod, are you with Veolia or are you in the general group? Well, Bill, you have like nanoseconds. But please. And
good morning.
Say what you need to, please.
Distinguished guests and the chairman and honorable board. I came out here in '93. And when we were over in the temporary buildings and we were running Paratransit out of the Bell's former car dealership, that's where we started. We didn't waver then, and we're not wavering now. I remember when Dr. Fred was worried about just building a concrete slab versus the whole valley. Commissioner Ross, thank you, 20 years, congratulations. That's our anniversary. I was out here last December to congratulate our employees for 20 years of loyal service. That's what it's all about. I was in New Orleans last month, thanking our employees for a contract we've had there for 75 years. 75 years of retired employees with 55 years of service. So I tell you today, as you make your decision, just remember one thing. Sometimes the grass is greener, but there's a reason why that grass is green, because it was fertilized with horse manure. Be careful as to what that is. Today is the end of the beginning only. And I thank you for your partnership, your service, and your indulgence with me. We are proud to have been your partner here, this community we love, and we want you to make the right decision today. The employees is what matters in this whole thing. God bless.
Thank you. Before I move on, Marianne, should I ask if Keolis or MV have anything to say today on the record?
Yes.
MV, okay. We'll go Keolis next.
Well, Keolis also has standing to make a statement if they'd like.
If they'd like, okay. Not that you have to, but if there are representatives from MV and or Keolis that want to put anything on the public record?
Well, good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission. My name is Carter Pate. I am the CEO of MV Transportation, and I would say on this Valentine's Day, I'm not getting a lot of loving here. I will tell you that this reminds me of Dallas that I attended, where the world was going to fall in. We saved the city of Dallas $42 million over the next, I guess it's a total of 7 years. And in that, I listened to some real passion, some questions about would the numbers hold up. And we were even challenged, how is that working out? We had the city of Dallas furnish you a letter that we are running ahead of Veolia's on-time percentage, and they couldn't be happier, and that letter is in the staff's possession, I believe. We're certainly able to give you a copy of that. Well, as one former president once said, is there you go again, is many times I have to sit and listen to these, but our company is a very proud company over the last 36 years. Yes, we have over 170 contracts. Yes, ATU is a great and dear partner in over probably 95, I'm going to say 93% of our contracts. In the last 5 years, we have had to negotiate over 60 times in the last 5 years, similar contracts where we needed a CBA to be in place before those. Of those, we had 6 that had a wage issue or a secondary wage issue, and we were successful in all 6. I will tell you that change is not easy. As the global managing partner for Price Waterhouse worldwide, before I came to MV, I was in charge of government and healthcare and transportation infrastructure. And I can tell you that I heard many of these same issues talked about many times, but we think we do things a little bit different. I stand here before you today to tell you that as of this year, we will run the lowest overhead of any transportation company in America as a % of revenue. I moved our headquarters to the center of the country in a state not unlike this, where it has income taxes are low or non-existent, corporate taxes. I am a CPA, and we are a tax strategy firm now. We have the largest fuel hedging operation, we believe, in the country, which has lowered our overall cost for many other contracts in which we do have to furnish fuel. I've consolidated over the last 2 years. I've been the CEO into one of the strongest purchasing operations that mimicked my prior firm. Now, I'm out of time, but I will tell you, I'm going to be the only speaker. I will tell you, we stand to be a proud partner. The one thing we don't do, we don't employ lobbyists. We don't have, many of you will know this is the first time you've ever seen my face. We don't employ those tactics, and we let our numbers speak for ourselves. We let the recommendation letters we've given you from countless cities from coast to coast speak for ourselves. We're quiet about that. We have given you the strongest manager, without a doubt, that I have in the entire company. We have given you a guarantee that if you're not happy, at any point in time, I will stand down quietly and not come forward with all my executives that work for me and tell you how disappointed I am. We will go quietly if our customers don't want us. That is how we operate. We have expanded worldwide to include such operations such as the Olympics this summer, that we coordinated all transportation, and I leave here to go to Rio to sign the similar contract down there. Yes, we do complex operations worldwide. And yes, we're running an operation not quite twice as large as the fixed route in Fairfax County. So I heard today that we've never run anything this big, so I was interested in learning that. I didn't even know we didn't run anything that big. There's a lot of accusations. The one thing is very clear. Out of the last 5 years, 60 contracts where we've had to negotiate a CBA, we've been very clear with staff. And let me say it publicly, that I intend to offer a position to every existing union driver in this room today that is a member, okay, subject to our drug policy and our background check.
Same wages and benefits?
The same wages and similar benefits are going to be offered.
Mr. Pate, there's some pretty intelligent people up in that crowd.
Yep.
So I would discourage any kind of negotiation. That is for something down the road.
Let me say this to you. We do intend to try to interview and hire all of the existing drivers, okay? And I'll stop.
That's good.
We're not looking for a fight. I have over 170 contracts in which we get along just great with the ATU. And I'll leave it at that.
Please.
So I would hope that you would put your trust in this and we can move on with this. We stand behind our numbers. We are a lean operation. I will not doubt, no doubt to that. I have one secretary for 9 executives in my own operation. One secretary. I am the PR person and spokesperson. I write my own press releases. No one runs a leaner operation than we do. So with that, we would be very proud to be your partner. Thank you very much for your time and apologize for running over.
Thank you, Mr. Pate. Question?
Questions?
Questions?
With your permission, Mr. Chairman.
Let's be cautious, though, Mary Ann.
I'm concerned, and I'm not, Mr. Pate, is that it?
Yes.
I'm not sure I'm comfortable with, we intend to hire all of the drivers and mechanics. That kind of, I'm not convinced with that. I mean, that doesn't convince me. No, don't do that. Are you going to come back? I mean, are you going to come back to us and ask us for more money as indicated for this contract one day? Because if I'm sitting here, I'm going to have a challenge with that real bad.
Yeah, I understand that.
Can you put that on the record? I mean, and I'm concerned about it. I mean, there are some tough allegations levied against your company, and I appreciate your statements too. Very lean company, you're doing the right thing, you got a different business model. Concerns I've got: wages, benefits, layoffs. We don't want anyone laid off here.
Yep.
We are suffering from the worst economic recession in the world, and I don't have to tell you that. These are families. These are our operators that have made this transportation commission successful. And they care about this organization. They wouldn't be working here for $14 an hour. That concerns me a great deal. Ms. Quigley, what is, what in the contract, what is the "you're fired" MV transportation clause? What is that? Do we have something like that in there?
MJ, you want to address that?
Actually, I'll have Lydia.
Oh, okay. We'll have.
Do you mind, Mr. Chairman? I mean, what if we're not happy?
Councilman, yes, any questions? Just want to make sure that Mary Ann guides us if we start bringing up any legal issues.
Hi, I'm Lydia Belinsky. I'm the purchasing analyst assigned to this project. Both contracts have a term for convenience clause, a term for default clause, so we are covered. I mean, if there is a performance issue, we can terminate the agreement.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman, for that, and thank you, young lady, for that. I have one more question to you, Ms. Quigley. You had Transpro, Mr. Ash,
yes,
his crew, evaluate, review, dissect, really dig into these proposals. Am I correct?
That is correct.
This isn't staff. This isn't the board members' involvement. This is a third-party independent group taking a hard look at the transportation needs in this community and at these proposals for these yards. Am I correct?
That is correct. At your last meeting in January, you authorized the RFP and award to Transpro. So it has been, it's been about 3 weeks that they've been on board reviewing numbers.
And I would assume this, and I don't like that word very much, but there hasn't been any influence, and Mr. Ash, maybe you need to come up and answer that question, with your permission, Mr. Chairman. Has there been any influence of any board members or staff in regards to your decisions? You might have to get up to the microphone and answer that.
There has not from anyone. It's been a totally objective analysis.
And your name for the record?
Mark Ash.
My questions have been answered, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilman. Thank you, Mr. Pate.
Wait, I wanted to ask, please, Mr. Chairman. Sorry.
Councilwoman, I'm sorry.
I'm going to put that arm up higher. You stated here today that the wages that you would be offering the group, and I hope I'm not overstepping legally when I'm supposed to step, but I'm clarifying a statement. You stated that they would be the same wages.
What I said, all the existing drivers that are currently employed will come into our process And subject to, and we have to do this legally, subject to drug testing and the background check that we will run, we will be offering jobs to all of the existing members or drivers to come on with us at existing wage levels and similar benefits that they have currently.
Okay, that's what I thought you said.
That's the intent that
So we cleared up the wage thing because you said the existing wages that they now have, and I understand the drug in the background. And
yes, ma'am.
If they'd failed that, then we shouldn't have them, of course.
We're expecting less than maybe 0.1% fail rate is what we would expect from the professional group that we have here with us today.
And nobody has anything yet as far as benefits or an understanding along that line. Okay.
The only reason I hedged that is that, having run healthcare for Price Waterhouse worldwide, there are 3 provisions within Obamacare that are not delineated yet. And I am still waiting for the law to come out as to specifics that all companies that employ more than 50 people will have. So I'm very careful in picking my words that I have every reason to believe that we will offer almost similar benefits, but the law is very specific on prevention. There will be a prevention clause that starts January 1st that we'll have to have present in the healthcare. And I'm just trying to make sure that I don't say it's going to be word for word because there is a federal regulation that I'll be bound by.
Mr. Chairman, could I interrupt just for a moment? I understand he likes to answer some questions, but I can't have the board engage in collective bargaining with him at this point, okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
And I think
apologies, Mr. Chairman.
No, we should use that to just...
No, I thought it was a clarification because he has to clarify similar also. What did he mean by similar?
Well, he does not have to clarify it here, so, okay.
Oh, we don't have to understand a clarification of what he says in front of us.
No, we don't want to get into the discussion on a CBA. And we're starting to cross the line. So
okay,
with the advice of the district attorney, we will stop that conversation and thank Mr. Pate for his time. And representatives from Keolis.
Chairman Brown and Commission, my name is Mike Griffiths, and I'm the President and CEO of Keolis Transit America. It was about a year ago that we opened an office in Las Vegas so that we could completely understand this system. Our office is over by the Bonneville Transit Center. Our company operates in 13 countries, and we operate over 22,000 vehicles. We are also the largest tram operator or light rail operator in the world. The management team that we have proposed for this contract has over 100 years of experience in the 4 people. When we priced this contract, we used the collective bargaining agreement to price it. We looked at the run cut, the pick that the ATU had provided, and we priced it. We worked with the benefits provider that's the current benefits provider for the union. So we have, I think, done all of our due diligence and completely understand the system. We've had experts in from around the world, and they've come here and ridden the buses and talked to passengers and looked at your system, looked on the strip to see what your issues were here. And we've done a really good job, I think, of understanding what this system is all about. I also thought I was on item 34 instead of 33, so, you know, here we are. I think that we have a commitment to this community. One of our core values is to be part of the community and to give back to the community. And we're here, we're very happy to be recommended. And I thought I was going to slide under the radar for a minute there, but obviously not. So I'm here to answer any questions that you may have at this time.
Thank you. We'll invite you back on 34.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks. Now, public comment on item number 33. We have well over 30 cards. What I would like to do is have our district attorney just state on the record 31. What's before us today versus any discussion of collective bargaining. And just again to perhaps give you a sense of what we can and can't address today. Marianne.
Thank you. I'd just like to point out to the commission and to the members of the public that pursuant to the terms of the RFP, this board needs to make a decision based on the best value as determined on the pricing and technical factors. So what's before this board on item 33 is whether or not to follow staff's recommendation of approval to MV based on best value to the public. Thank you.
Okay. So this is in no particular order. The first, Anthony Harris.
Don't clap.
And why don't I call out a couple names? Robbie Harris. Patrick S., 2750 West Wigwam Ave. Those three. Please.
Morning, Commissioners. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody.
Thank you.
My name is Anthony Harris. I've been driving transportation here in Vegas for 14 years. Paratransit. I have some middle management experience with our safety and training department. I'm a little nervous, excuse me. And now I'm a fixed route operator. Only question I really have is the CBA. Why can't we have one in place for one of the competitors come and get the contract? Shouldn't our wages and benefits and everything that we get now kind of stay the same for another company comes in and takes over? That's all I ask. Why isn't that in place? Or can you guys refer me where to go to get that information?
Sure.
Why it isn't in place?
Certainly, we could get you that information, but federal law dictates what we, here, I'll have the attorney.
Okay.
And if you want a copy of it, just.
Yeah. A copy of it, I'll read it. I read the Affordable American Health Care Act, not Obamacare, as some people call it. I read the whole page, so. And why are we splitting the yards? I don't know why.
You asked for one question.
Okay, one. One.
We're never going to get to your brothers and sisters if you start adding those questions.
Okay, all right, my mistake.
You can stay. The answer.
Federal civil rights law actually operates to prohibit a governing body that is made up of government officials from interfering with a private company's collective bargaining process. The NLRB provides assurances and protections to the employees of a recognized collective bargaining unit, and a government body that issues contracts cannot interfere with that process, or it's subject to personal and official liability.
Thank you. And Anthony, as far as the second one, the splitting of the yards, we did that a long time ago. If you would leave your name with one of the staff members, we can give you all the background, the
Sure,
days
that's what I
that the
need.
vote
I'd like
was
to read it
taken.
for myself, so I'll know.
Please.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Either one, Patrick or Robbie?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Robbie Harris. I have a position in safety and training. I'm also a driver as well as Executive Board Officer of ATU 1637. I have a question for us concerning third-party certifiers for the system, because I also am a third-party certification examiner for CDL licenses. What happens with that issue with another company taking over?
Well, this is public comment.
Yes.
If you want to get real specific as far as those type questions, we can take them down and have staff get your contact information. But we're not going to be able to get in a dialogue as far as splitting the yard and the background and the history, and that's above my understanding what you're talking about, but it's an important point. But now is not the forum to answer that. We can get you that information.
Okay. Understand. Veolia has world-class safety, and we're proud of that, as well as the drivers before me that went through the pipeline as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Patrick S.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Patrick. I'm a fixed route operator, local 1637. And I'm pretty much just want to speak on behalf of the drivers, the transit monitors, maintenance, even our supervisors and bosses. We've all been here. A lot of us have been here since the sticker on the side of that bus said Citizens Area Transit and LVT for Las Vegas Transit. And I really want to speak on just basically having you guys understand the dedication that we've had through everything that's been going on since the 20 years all the way till now. Our biggest concern is the yard split. Reason being, right now, as of today, because of which I'm glad that everybody's brought up a lot of situations, including the money that we make hourly. We do a lot of overtime. Myself, 7 days a week. Sometimes we have to go to other yards to be able to make anything extra outside of our paycheck, on top of being able to drive these buses as a choice. We like to do what we like to do. A lot of you, I don't really think understand how deep this goes as far as that. Once we split the yards, that'll take a lot of that overtime away from us. We won't be able to go to the other facility as far as health reasons. Some routes are rougher than others. Different situations happen. We move for specific reasons as far as taking care of people-wise, different buses, bus types, the whole thing. That'll force a lot of different situations to happen out on the road as far as breakdowns as well. When a bus breaks down right now, we proudly call the other yard and say, hey, we have a bus down at Simmons and we're over here at Sunset. Would you guys mind swapping that bus? No problem. Now for that guy like myself who's been here, dedicated, that drives because I want to, we'll get out there, no problem. We'll pick up that run for you guys from the other side. We'll go ahead and complete that route. You guys don't get that phone call saying, from whatever hotel, my employees didn't make it, what's going on, We also, which I'm glad, Steve, that you've brought up the loss of wages the rumor is that we're worried about. That's a big factor to us right now. We've worked before we even got our raises, we've worked every day through everything you guys can throw at us, which I'm glad that you guys have been in this together with us. We've worked through the New Year's Eve detours, the marathons, the starting of the Sahara Express. I've started the Boulder Highway Express. I've started the STX on the Strip Express. Many routes. I've driven Maryland Parkway for almost 5 years when nobody else would drive it. So that's for these guys up here. So, with that being said,
with that, Patrick, we're going to close down. Thank you.
At the end of the day, I just want to say one quick thing. Sometimes you guys also have to understand, we voted all of you to be where you're at. And with that being said, since we're doing our job, we want you guys to be able to do your job to take care of us. It's your turn now. Remember, this is also Las Vegas. You guys are representing Southern Nevada. Sometimes it doesn't have to be like California. Sometimes it doesn't have to be like other places. If you guys are also looking at budgets and stuff like that, there's other ways besides taking that out of our pay. CNG buses, things like that. Thank you guys for your time.
Dietrich Pettis, Dennis Hennessy, Captain Fletcher.
Good afternoon, folks. First of all, I'd like to say happy Valentine's Day.
Thank you.
And I'm glad that you guys are showing some love, because if I'm right, I noticed that this lovely young woman...
And you're going to have to state your name quickly.
Dietrich. My name's Dietrich. Got the potential for a raise. I'm happy for you. The only thing I have to say is, I heard earlier that the RFP didn't allow certain things in it. I think Mr. Hedgen said that you weren't allowed to do certain things with the RFP, which I was really confused about. I mean, if we already have a contract or the potential for a contract, I do believe that should be included. If not, I'd like to know why, because that's something that we as people would like to change. and we have the ability to change that. So whoever I need to talk to about that, please.
Is that
let
your
me know.
question?
No, no, that's not my question. That's just what I'm stating.
Because that was, if you were listening earlier, that goes directly to the federal guidelines that oversees the CBA. We can get you that information if you would contact staff.
Right.
Mr. Chairman, just for the purpose of future speakers, there seems to be some confusion, and it's probably my fault. Whether or not this bus contract will be split was already determined by this board, is not on the agenda today. The terms of the RFP were already approved by this board. The terms are not before this commission today. It's only whether or not Lot A on item 33 should be awarded to the recommended low bidder MV. So if speakers could address that issue.
Right. I have no problem with MV or Veolia or Keolis. My things I'm concerned about, as I said, my wages. And in these comments today, you've made it known that my wages can't be a part of any contract that you decide to seek. I'm here to say that's wrong. I'm here to say that as a voting member, that can be changed. We live in America. Anything can happen. So for you to tell me that's not possible, I'm a little upset. As for what goes on in the future, I'm going to accept that. But just know that from this moment on, I don't think this should ever happen again. And I'm going to make sure that my fellow members pursue that effort. Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy Valentine's Day to everybody. Not only is it Valentine's Day, but it's my birthday as well. So I appreciate you all celebrating my birthday with me. Let me start off by saying I'm not going to ask any questions. Mine are just comments and something hopefully that'll be food for thought for everyone. I've been driving with Veolia here in Las Vegas for 3 years.
And your name, please?
Dennis Hennessy.
Thank you.
I'm really awed at what I feel over the course of the last 3 years has been the ability of the representatives for our drivers, the ATU, to get on an RTC agenda to where they can stand before you and you can ask questions and there can be true interaction. For whatever reason, I've seen countless letters sent to Mr. Brown, to you, countless letters sent to the RTC staff, and yet we never seem to make it onto your agenda. So we're sitting here telling you things that concern us. It's far late for those discussions, but I'm amazed that it's never been brought on. The impact of several thousand voting members that work with the ATU members needs to be taken into consideration. To me, our inability to get in front of you to speak and get interaction kind of smells funny. Kind of smells a little bit of arrogance on the RTC's part. But yet the ramifications, guys, aren't on the staff or on the RTC. They're on our elected officials. Because trust me, that's where, as you guys all know, the responsibility lies is with you guys. The theme of what I want to talk about for the remainder is I call trickle down. Let's talk about the trickle down of splitting the 2 yards.
If you heard, and this will be the last speaker, if you heard what the DA said, the splitting of the yards.
Understand, I'm just making comments for food for thought. I'm not asking you to change. I'm just saying the trickle down of that result, as Patrick had spoke about. You're going to have 2 different companies running same routes. 2 different companies running Decatur, running Tropicana. They're going to be 2 different companies, back-to-back companies with different philosophies, with different policies and procedures running buses back-to-back. You're going to have a bus that currently, if it breaks down running the Decatur route up near Simmons, within 10 minutes we can have a mechanic or a bus out to fill it. What happens if that bus is the bus out of the Sunset Yard? You know what the trickle down is? Our customers suffer. Your voting public suffers. It trickles down to the passengers. The trickle down, after 3 years, I believe you're going to make the decision, if not sooner, to merge the 2 yards back, but that's neither here or there. Let's talk about the current trickle down to the current 1,000+ employees. I started 3 years ago making $9.30 an hour. After 3 years, I'm now about to the point where I can make a decent wage. Splitting the yards, taking away overtime from me, kills me. Vacation time benefits, you've heard all the concerns that we have. But you know what? You know what that's a trickle down to me and to all of us and to our families. But the last thing I'm going to say, but the real trickle down is if this decision and this process doesn't go right, and this goes to all of our elected officials, the trickle down effect will be in the voting booth.
Thank you. Next speaker. On deck, Robert Henning, Pat Anderson, Barbara McAlpin.
Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. Good morning, everybody. My name is Captain Fletcher. We've been hearing the comments. We've been hearing what's going on between the two corporations. Can you hear me? What we've been hearing about is one thing that's been concerning us as the labor workers, that of the mechanics and that of the drivers. We hear words like similar. Mr. Ross, you said it before. Apple is an apple, but a lemon is a lemon. We don't want to hear nothing about similar. We want to hear what's concrete. Today's world is brand on documentation, putting it in writing. Until we can see what's going on as labor workers continue to move the system as proud as we've been moving to protect the community, we want to know where we're heading as far as when the system is being split. We heard what we were saying about Veolia. They have proved themselves for 20 years. 20 years of dedication, not only for families, but for taxpayers, for citizens that's all right here riding their bus, going to work, providing a better public transportation. So what we here today is concerned of is that when we do make decisions, are we making a concrete, correct decision? Not just on value of a lower number, but the total quality of who really deserves this contract. And that is what is a concern of all of us as workers, and I thank you for this time.
My name's Robert Henning, and most of my questions dealt with the CBA, so I won't take any more of your time. Have a good day.
Thank you. Thanks for coming down. Patricia Anderson.
Well, I know I'm going to make it brief. You know I like to talk. So I will try to be, I have a list here, but I'm going to try to summarize. Number one, the first thing you do have is dedicated drivers. Let's respect them, number one. Number two, their livelihood is on stake, and we cannot play games. It's called game time is over. Number three, they work all kind of shifts. 2 o'clock in the morning, I talked to at least 500 drivers from Tropicana to Craig on my own time. Encourage them to stay there, to stay focused, and what have you. One day last week was on the 6th. I was on the Flamingo bus, and we got down to the hill, almost to the hill going down to Decatur, and the bus quite naturally stopped. Everybody was on the bus, the bus is not, I said, let's respect the driver. The driver has a problem, the bus has stopped. I got so loud on that bus, I almost forgot my name. So what happened was I helped her to get that bus started because I told her, I said, number one, how are you going to do it? And I said, what you can do is shut off the bus, shut the shutdown system, shut it down all the way, okay? So she said, well, I'm going to get in trouble. I said, no, you're not. I said, let me tell you what, okay? Call your supervisor. I'll stay right here with you, and you call your supervisor. I stayed there with her. She was up, like getting a panic attack, like I'm okay. Okay. So the bus driver did the same thing. She said, she says, you were right. Yes. I never drove a bus, but I know if it's either with the alternator or it was the fuel pump. Okay? Either one. We got that bus started. We had a bus load of people. I got the bus started, and it went down, and it kept going all the way down to Decatur, all the way down to Flamingo. So I decided, okay, what we decided to do, another spot that we need to get rid of, I've went to this before, is the Target spot. When they're coming down to 215, they can't, if a new driver cannot see a person standing there. This is a spot in front of Target. Now they put a Burger King there, which that makes no sense to me, but who am I? Okay, so now they need to close that bus stop. This is what they need to do. This is my suggestion, and I don't care what happens. The $265 that you took from these drivers, you need to give it back to them. I mean, they don't have any lunch hour. They have no time. They're eating on the bus, they're going this, and they're gobbling on to 2 minutes here and there. That's not lunch. That's not it. This is what it is. I already talked to 300 drivers this week.
Thank you, Mrs. Anderson.
All right, and I'm trying to get to the rest of them, okay? Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Linda Lowry, Sam Santorio, Mike Summers. Okay. And Linda is also? Okay. Thank you. Deborah, I'll bring you back up. Deborah Carlson and Brenda Stewart.
Hi, good morning, everybody. First, I'd like to speak to Mr. Keating. Back in December, we complained about security, and security has vastly improved. And if I'm the first one to complain, I got to be the first one to say they're doing a good job now. Like, there's still room for improvement. I notice there's a lot more security, even though it happens to be around this room today. But I don't know if that's intimidate me or what. But also, while I'm up here, I want to pay tribute to one of our passengers. She is she's everybody's favorite bus passenger. She comes on the bus, you could be having a bad day, the most miserable day you're ever having. When she comes on, the time she leaves, you're smiling. If every passenger was like this lady, you would not need security. She has her bus pass ready, her reduced fare ID ready. She does not drink on the bus. She does not swear. She does not play loud music. She is just a sweetheart of a bus rider. So on today, Valentine's Day, the ATU Local 1637, on behalf of our president, Jose Mendoza, his dedicated staff, and all of our hardworking members, want to present this to our favorite passenger, our sweetheart, that'd be Patricia Anderson.
Miss Anderson.
Also, can I finish up here? I have about 45 seconds.
Go ahead.
Also, as far as the awarding of this contract based on savings, I'm surprised the RTC staff did not come up with this idea. You could save about $66 million over 10 years, and it's a simple solution. You're just going to have to reduce what you people make. If you cut your budget by 20%, that'll be a reduction of, it'll be savings about $6.6 million a year. Over 10 years, it'll be $66 million. And I'm talking about from the custodian all the way up to you, Ms. Quigley. Now, I can imagine it's got to be rough if you had your pay cut and had to live on $15,000 a month. But we don't make that kind of money. We make very little, and the fact that everyone's trying to take it away from us right now is very hurtful. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Deborah Carlson, Brenda Stewart, on deck, Mario.
It's hard, ain't it?
Mareo, M-A-R-A-O, middle initial A, last name J-A-R-A-M-I-L-L-O. Come on down, you've been waiting all day.
Hi, I'm Brenda, and I just need to say first, who was responsible for the Fremont Street security? That would be him. Come here, sugar. Come here, baby. Thank Oh, y'all don't get that. I'm sorry. We got issues. Thank you.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you.
Where my flowers, candy, money, diamonds?
I'll talk to you later.
Gotcha. Okay. Reset the clock, because that was his time, not mine. I wanted to say thank you, because when you initiated that, it was like less than a week after we were here, and that was awesome. That is awesome. It also created another problem. Now, y'all, come on, he did that without having to text the governor of the state of California and send an email to the White House and all of that. He simply got it done. And I appreciate it. It is wonderful. Fremont is wonderful. It is safe. It is clean. Now, that lets me know what side of the barn the bull is going to the bathroom on. Okay? It's going to take some of y'all a minute to figure that out, but you'll be all right. Okay? That means if he could get that done that quickly, just like that, what is the problem? You know that we have families to feed. I'm a single grandparent. I know, I'm cute. That's okay. I'm a single grandparent. Cannot afford, you know, you're dealing with numbers. You're dealing with numbers. You said technical. You know, when they asked you the question about you said similar. Okay, the light company doesn't understand my similarity of not being able to pay the whole bill. I understand that, you know, you are probably experienced in everything. We don't have a problem with change. And thank you, Mr. Ross. And where's Lois? Where'd she go? Thank you, Lois, back yonder. Okay. We don't have a problem with change. We have a problem with not being able to maintain our own households. That's what we have a problem with. I don't mind the change. Change is a good thing. I might walk in here blonde next week, but the problem that I have is not knowing where my next foot is going to land. That's the problem that I have. I need to know that I can be able to support my grandchildren and not have to pay $300 for benefits. Similar benefits, that, you know, the language, that's why I applaud Lois. Thank you so much. Because similar, you know, she wants a definition of similar. Well, you're not by yourself. We want a definition of it too. Thank you for at least admonishing that. And I want to say that, you know, I've been with this company coming up on 6 years. And it has been one of the most interesting rides of my life. You know, it's been wonderful. It's been up, it's been down, it's been hard. I've cried, I've got mad, I've cussed people out, I've done all of that. But I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. I love what I do. You know, RTC has been awesome. Veolia has been awesome. I've had issues with both of y'all. Y'all have had issues with me. But, you know, it's a love-hate thing. Let's keep it going.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I think they about covered everything. My name is Marco Jaramillo. I'm a coach operator, also member ATU. Now, for you guys, I don't know if you realize, but this is a hard job. Not everybody can do what these people do. It's amazing that they could even pull it off. I mean, you're dealing with the public, sometimes in the hundreds, sometimes thousands if you're on the strip. And just the fact that these people are still doing it, that says a lot. I mean, they're dedicated. You won't find anybody more dedicated than these people right here in this room. They've been doing this for a long time. So I don't have a questions for you guys, but just want you to acknowledge the people here who give it their time here and just support them. You know, they're the people that are out there. They're the ones that deal with the passengers directly. They're the people that make you guys look good here sitting there because they're doing a great job, you know. So I just want to give a hand to my fellow employees back here.
Thank you. Deborah, did we call this one Deborah Carlson? Did anyone else put a card in for these two items? What's your name? Tanisha Watson, right here on top. Followed by Barbara Powell. Followed by Tim Tim Bush, thank you.
Hi, I don't have any questions. I just have concerns. And my name's Tanisha Watson. I have been in Las Vegas for 17 years. 10 of those years, I have been driving for this company. Well, we weren't Veolia at first, but Veolia has been good to us because there has been improvement since I first started in 2003. So it would be a big mistake for you to allow MV to take over Lot B. Now, I've done a little research on MV, and they're starting employees off in Dallas at $8 an hour. We cannot take a pay cut, period. You cannot destroy people's lives because they did a lower bid. It just doesn't make sense. If you have any doubt about them obtaining this Lot B, like they say, if you're in doubt, throw it out. Don't even deal with it. Veolia has been good. It's improvement. Veolia needs improvement, but they have improved this bus system since I've been driving it. Our wages have improved. They could be better. But our wages have improved. We have a fabulous bus system. I come from a family of bus drivers all over the nation, and it's unbelievable. They love our bus system. They love the buses we have. They said they don't have anything like that where they are. But yet still, they make way more money than we do. And as far as MV dealing with any mass transit at this size, and he said Fairfax County is about 1.1 million people. Here we almost have 2 million in population. Not to mention this is a tourist area, and we have a lot of 24-hour bus service because this is a 24-hour town. I can't imagine that in Virginia that's as big as Las Vegas, Nevada. Fairfax County. So I'm just saying reconsider. I'm a little bit nervous. I know you hear it in my voice, but I'm saying reconsider that. Please don't take that recommendation for MV and reconsider Veolia. Thank you.
Good morning. Barbara Powell, elected Vice President of ATU, Local 1637, a 16-year employee, 16-and-a-half-year employee of the transit system here in Las Vegas. Proudly so, I might add. We've come a long way. We've grown this system. You took time and everybody acknowledged the RTC. Again, I would like for you to acknowledge and say thank you to my employees, to my fellow employees, to the operators, to the maintenance department, to the meat and potatoes of this operation. We're not asking for very much. We're asking you to consider our livelihoods. This is what we're fighting about and fighting for. We can't afford to take cuts in our pay. Some of us have been doing this so long that we're beginning to break down, sir. And I would just like to know, you say similar benefits. What can you offer me, or what do you plan to offer me as far as insurance is concerned?
The board.
Well, yes, I'm addressing the board, but I'd also like for these gentlemen to know that this is meant for them. In the research that I've done, we might possibly be paying, as a single person, $600 a month for insurance. Can't do it. And especially if you're talking about cutting my salary. I've been loyal to the city of Las Vegas, to the transit system, and the only thing that we want, the only thing that we expect and that we need is that you show us the same type of respect, the same type of loyalty that we've given you. And remember, you get what you pay for.
Thank you. Tim Bush.
Yes, my name is Tim Bush. Been a driver for almost 9 years. My first comments are: you get what you pay for. Drivers are concerned about their wages, their benefits. We're worried how we're going to put the food on the table. We're worried how we're going to pay our bills. We're also worried, are we going to have somewhere to stay tomorrow? Are we going to have a job tomorrow? This is why we're all here. This is our livelihood. This is what we enjoy to do. We love to drive our buses. I drive the Strip. I love to drive the Strip. Some drivers don't like driving the Strip. They prefer the 109. They have the 109. I love the Strip. Okay? But our main concern is our bread and butter. And we don't want you to forget about us. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. All right. This is the last speaker on this agenda item, and you're here on item 34,
well,
33.
I don't know. I don't think you have my card, but I did J.B. Abercrombie, and I am here to support the Paratransit, so mine is in reference, and the Paratransit is rating for me. So,
Please go ahead and put your comments in.
My name is J.B. Abercrombie, and I am here to support the Paratransit because, of course, my accident with the spinal injury and certain things. I had to go to California, back to Cedars-Sinai, to get my spinal surgery, but on a second opinion and a referral, I've found a doctor here in Las Vegas, and 2 weeks ago he was on TV. He's invented something that's going to be used all over the world for spinal, and he has made a decision to stay in Las Vegas. What I'm asking for is that you cut routes to certain areas, and these are areas that have some first-class doctors that service paratransit patients and Medicaid and Medicare. And being that you cut these services, in order to use this spinal specialist, I have to book a private car that costs me $20 there, $20 back, and $10 an hour in order to see this doctor. What I'm asking is that you restore these services, because this is only discrimination for poor people who have Medicare and Medicaid. They cannot use these doctors simply because they do not have a car and they cannot afford the expense of getting to these doctors. I have a letter here. I'm going to leave it with you, 2 doctors that I'm using, that you cut the paratransit service. As of now, I have to take a private car or take paratransit to a certain area, take a taxi to the doctor's office, have him wait, take the taxi back to that, and it takes me 6 hours to get to an appointment. So I'm asking you to give these people some overtime. Give them back their jobs. This is money that I paid taxes for since I was 16 years old. And now I came to Las Vegas, had this serious accident. I have to take a flight back to California to Cedars-Sinai every month for my spinal. So I'm asking you to put these 2 services back in. Dr. Chan, and here's a copy of the letter I have. And let these people know that all of these services that you've cut for hospitals, paratransit, the senior citizen, disabled, they need it, and most of all, the union people need the overtime. Thank you.
Okay. If we can get a copy of that. We'll close the public comment period on that item. Did you fill out a card? What do you want to speak on? Okay, a quick comment, and this will be the last speaker out of respect for the others that still have to speak.
Appreciate it. My name is Sergio Flores. Happy Valentine's to all of you. I want to give you an important parable. Most of you here and most of us here are married, right? Everybody's married. After 20 years about being married or so, you start looking at your wife or your spouse. You start thinking, well, you know, things are getting expensive. I got to pay for this, pay for that, pay for this, pay for that. So you're looking at your budget. You're like, well, you know, maybe if I look for somebody new and divorce my 20-year-old wife, things will be a lot better, right? You know, we're all looking at that. So here come along two fine-looking, either gentleman or female, whichever you want to look, better prepared, got no children, got nothing to attach. You think, well, I'll be better on this side, correct? The reality of the truth is you won't be better on the other side. Veolia and its people have given its life to you. The reality is those children of the mother that's going to be single is going to be out there in the street on welfare, on Medicare, on Medicaid. You know, regardless of what Keolis and MV are saying and Veolia has given to this community, I'm asking you to reconsider. Obviously, reconsider all options. One of the things that I have a problem with is that you're not asking to negotiate. You're not telling, hey, drivers, would you not mind having a raise for 3 years, 2 years? Would you mind paying more for insurance? Would you mind doing these things for us? You're not asking to work. You're asking to come here and cut people off at the knees. That's the bottom line. That's why it's these people's lives, Las Vegas citizens' lives. People that work for you for long periods of time, long hours, work hard. Give them a chance. Just because on the other side of the hill, the grass is greener doesn't mean it always is. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Okay. We'll close the comment portion and open it up to the board for any questions and/or a motion.
I guess, if you don't mind, I guess I appreciate your commentary about a 20-year marriage. I think that's really what it has been. And with any marriage, you know, there has to be some sharing and giving and taking, and you go through a process. And certainly in this marriage, we were asking everyone to sharpen their pencil and come back to us with the best numbers that they possibly could, because frankly, we're in a new economy. And, you know, listening to all the commentary, there isn't anything we can't do with more money, but the fact is we don't have more money. We have less money, and we're looking at how we are managing that money and how we provide the services across the community, doing more with less. And I think that basically what I heard from Marianne, our attorney, is that we have to look at best value and technical factors, and that's really what's ahead of us as we're making our decisions, as we're evaluating that. Believe you me, I would love nothing more to have unlimited money, but the fact is between MV and Veolia over the life of the contract, we're talking about $50 million again, and that's a significant amount of money. I would love to, you know, maintain the marriage, but then Veolia probably should have come in and sharpened their pencil a little bit more. So,
thank you, Mayor Tobler.
You know, I think a lot of times we have these discussions, and a lot of things maybe are missed in all this, but I got to tell you, we all recognize your dedication and hard work, and we appreciate that. And that's not what this is about. I think if any of us believed that one of these other two companies would come in and ignore your needs, we definitely would not move forward with that. That isn't the question in my mind, that they're going to ignore that. We've heard some things. I think it's been a little unfair. We talk about how we can't open up a collective bargaining agreement, but yet we allow the other companies to get up and speak specifically about some of the merits of the RFP, and then we don't allow them to answer it. I think that's kind of unfair, but believe me, we appreciate your jobs. We appreciate the hard work you do for this. Our job, though, is to balance a number of things. One is to make sure you guys are being treated fairly. Two is to also look at the taxpayers who fund this service and this organization. We have to get the best deal for our taxpayers as well. And then at the third one, which I think is also extremely important, are the users of this system. And they haven't even come up in many of the arguments in this. We have been cutting hours. We have been cutting routes. We've had people get up and say you need to bring this service back. Well, the only way we can do that is to find financial ways to bring those services back because of the decline in taxes and everything that we have been hit with. So those are the three factors: the drivers, and the mechanics, the current employees, the taxpayers, and the users of this system. Now we have to balance that. We had a process in place through the RFP that we were going to go through it. We're going to follow that, and at this point, I think all we're saying is we're following the recommendation. There's a protest process, correct? If Veolia wants to move forward with that, then they need to do it within the agreement of the RFP and how it was originally set up. But I too have to kind of look at the dollar amounts and think, you know, maybe I supported First Transit the first time around. They didn't even make the cut this time. Same with, they should have come in with a little stronger proposals. But believe me, I think if we really believed that your salaries were going to be reduced, we wouldn't be moving forward with this. And that's not what we're hearing. And we even had financial consultants to come in and kind of look at that process. So I'm comfortable moving ahead with the recommendation.
Is that in the form of a motion?
If there's no other comments from the board.
No other comments or questions, there's a motion on the floor to select MB Transportation and 4-year, 2-year, authorize the chairman to sign the contract or take any other action. So your recommendation would be to move forward with MB.
Yes.
Motion on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye. 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 Opposed? Motion carries.
Unanimous.
Next item, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Next item is item number 34, and that is that the Regional Transportation Commission of Southern Nevada receive a recommendation from the Evaluation Committee to select Keolis Transit America, Inc. to perform RTC operation and maintenance of fixed route transit services, Lot B, in accordance with requests for proposals 12-081, and approve contract number 12-081-B between the RTC and Keolis from the date of notice to proceed through July 6th, 2018, with 2 2-year options and 1 1-year option, and authorize the chairman to sign the contract or take other action as deemed appropriate. First slide. We had Keolis and Veolia as respondents to Lot B. Technical scores for Keolis was 26.79. Technical score for Veolia, 26.01. Price score was 70%, of which Keolis was awarded the full 70 points. Veolia at 68.16. The highest ranking firm is Keolis Transit at 96.79. The prices associated with this lot, total base price, which was the 5 years, was $230 million, $203,285 for Keolis. And again, for the base for Veolia, it was $250 million, $240,265. With the options, again, which were 2 2-year options and 1 1-year option, for a total of 10 years, our total price is for Keolis $497,931,450. They are the low bidder, and Veolia at $511,390,149. With that, we open it up to any questions or comments. And again, we do have TransPro, Mark Ash, who's the CEO, available to answer any questions regarding the financial review.
All right. Mr. Mendoza, would you like to speak on this item?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. First of all,
please.
Point of clarification on the last vote. How many ayes and how many noes?
It was unanimous, so 7-0.
Because I only heard one aye. Is everybody else?
Mary Ann, 7-0? Can I put that on the public record?
That's correct.
Thank you.
All right. Is there anyone wishing to speak to the Keolis item? Seeing and hearing no one, we'll close that portion. And comments or questions from the board? If not, we'll entertain a motion.
Before you do, Mr. Chairman.
Councilman.
I think it'd be appropriate for Mr. Ash to just kind of give us a brief summary, as he did with the previous item, for the record.
Thank you, Councilman.
Be happy to. Thank you, Councilman. Again, with this proposal, there was
and your name for the record?
Sure, it's Mark Ash, A-E-S-C-H, from TransPro. There was one proposal which made it to our desk, which came through the financial and technical review process, and that was for Keolis associated with Lot B. We were charged with 2 levels of responsibility. One, to determine the fairness and reasonability of the proposal. And going through that, we have to consider that from federal procurement guidelines, and we are confident from the RTC's perspective that the Keolis proposal is indeed fair and reasonable. The second level of responsibility that we had was the level of realism associated with the proposal, and having gone through the proposal, torn it apart from a financial perspective, compared all of the budget lines that were in the proposal compared to what they had proposed, their financial plan compared to their proposal, we feel very comfortable in recommending to RTC that the plan indeed does have a level of realism associated with it.
Thank you. Other comments or questions? Staff, what is your recommendation? Move to follow that recommendation. Motion on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye. 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 Opposed? Public record shows 6 votes in favor, 0 votes opposed. Motion passes. This is a time set aside for anyone wishing to speak to the RTC board. I did have a couple cards that were not involved with 3334. So the first one is John Norgris or Santa.
Like I said, December, you can just call me Santa. Okay, I have a couple of things. One, we've had another driver assaulted. He's on light duty too. I'm still on light duty. We need to have transit police out there, not yellow shirts or the rent-a-cops. There was a rent-a-cop on his bus and he didn't do a damn thing. So we need transit police in plain clothes out there. It's psychology 101. Put fear in these people that they don't know if there's a cop on the bus or not, and they'll stop doing what they're doing because they could be afraid they'll get arrested right there, okay? 2, you've got a picture of a man that stole a fare box cover, and you've got that posted at both yards. Why aren't the people that are assaulting the drivers and doing other things, why don't they have a bulletin board with their pictures, still pictures up on the, you know, so that the other drivers can help Metro catch these people? Because I've described this person that attacked me to other drivers, and they've seen him on the route. So, you know, let's start posting these still pictures up there. It would help. And, you know, everything else is going good. So, thank you.
Thank you for coming down.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman.
No, that's all right. This is a...
I just want to ask legal counsel. In accordance to the RFP, 5 days of are due for the protest after the approval?
We put that on the record earlier.
Okay, so from this day, 5 days to file the protest?
No, it's from the date of posting, and we're not counting non-business days, so that would expire February 19th.
Okay, so we got to February 19th to file the protest?
Only proponents have the ability to file protests.
My understanding on the RFP, anybody could file in accordance to, there's no definition.
Well, you can check that out. So is it 5 p.m. on Tuesday?
It is.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I know you've been here all day, very patient, so thank you.
My name's Don Dehar. I'm a Clark County resident. I'm here regarding the Veterans Affairs new clinic at Buffalo and Warm Springs. But before I go to that, real quickly, I want to address something to Commissioner Ross. In as much as I'm originally from Dearborn, Michigan, and I used to sell papers to Walter Reuther, and I went to Henry Ford's funeral, so you know I have a union background. Okay, number one, nobody talked about, is the seniority portable when you go from one company to the other? The issue of seniority, I never heard about that regarding the bus companies. And the other one, is the health insurance portable without triggering the existing prior medical conditions that would be exempted. So you go from one company to the other, all of a sudden somebody got seriously ill. A year ago, it's not covered. But I don't hear anybody talking about the real important things. They talk about $800 or $900 a month. And then the other one is the corporation's history of employment retention. The stats, I have never heard about that. That gives you a good indication, better than a credit report or other history, is the employee's happy there. So anyhow, that's enough for that. Okay, I was here a month ago regarding the new clinic for the Veterans Affairs. And just to recap a little bit, that clinic is the only one in Clark County for geriatrics for the seniors 65 and older. And so since that meeting last month, I met with your staff and we went over that. And the bottom line is that that clinic's never going to have bus service. And I'm shocked to hear that because the budget problems that you're talking about, but I want to direct your attention to that American flag right there. And for you to disregard the veterans, there's some serious things there. Example, one of the veterans that I know we have coffee with at Walmart's at Patrick Lane, his name is Charles Moyer. He was in the third wave of the Normandy invasion. He's still in good health, and he still looks young. I'm 10 years younger than him, but I was in, I was drafted during the Korean War, and I went to Germany. Yeah, but like I told you before, like Charles, I asked, when he told me while we're drinking coffee, just casually he was in the Normandy invasion after having coffee with him many times. And he's the last person that you'd find out unless he just happened to accidentally mention it. And so I happened to have, last year I had a couple of radio stations regarding Social Security, and I invited him onto my talk radio show. And I found out what he did. And I asked him one of the questions, when that landing gate went down, what did you think? We all seen that movie clip of that French house there on Omaha Beach, or whichever one it was. And I says, when that door went down, didn't the machine gun bullets make you go crazy? And he says, no. He said, but most of the men were killed, they drowned. And I didn't know that because they were at high tide. And every single glider, without exception, crashed because they were not pilots. His buddy was made
Don,
a pilot.
we need to close up. There's some other speakers.
So why is it that you can't find it in your bodies, in your mind somewhere to get the bus to go to Warm Springs, 1 mile from Rainbow?
Thank you.
You can't do that?
Well, we'll talk to staff.
Yeah, we will definitely want to get with him.
Patrick, you're back. You enjoy this. Thanks. Thank you for hanging around.
Thank you guys for your patience, and I got to thank all of you up here for dealing with us because I know it's not easy. There's a lot of things that I also take into effect that a lot of people, especially the passengers, don't understand. As far as you can't put a bus at everybody's house, it doesn't work that way when it comes to funding. When this is all done with the yard stuff and everything, we would love if we'd be able to come back and just let you know, hey, it's going great, or this is what we're kind of dealing with, so we can all work together with this, so I appreciate you guys. And even if it comes to cost, as far as a lot of things, don't think that you guys are all alone in this, because we understand fuel, buses, the whole works. If we got to all figure out together, whether it's buying a CNG bus versus a diesel to pull the cost from somewhere else, there's always other options. And, I know you guys do a lot of work. There's a lot of paperwork more than what's sitting over here on your desk that you guys must get. But, we're all in this together, and just, there's times, ask the drivers as well, the new companies. We can figure ways out as far as cost and everything. It doesn't have to put everybody out. So I just want to say thank you guys so much for your time and everything.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, good afternoon, commissioners, staff. My name is Francisco Eufemia. I'm a transit monitor for Veolia. And I first wanted to say to Mr. Keating, thank you very much for the security at Fremont Street. That's really helped us out a lot. You know, we used to really get assaulted a lot, and thank you very much on behalf of the other monitors. If you're not aware of the monitors, what we do, there's 14 of us that we're actually on the strip, ensuring that your buses, your customers are ready to go before they board the Deuce and the SDX. And we're the first people they meet before they board the bus. So, you know, we're really, excuse me, I'm a little nervous, but yeah, we're the first ones that they see before they get on these buses. And we just want to make sure that, you know, Keolis and MV moving on, you're aware that we're out there, we're doing the best we can. We're one of the more integral parts of that service. You know, if it wasn't for us, I think the service wouldn't be as efficient as it is now. We've got it running on time. We're just doing the best we can. So I know this has a lot to do with the operators and the mechanics and the unions, but as the monitors being out there, I think Keolis wins is getting the Sunset Yard. Just remember us that we're out there, and you know, we hope to be with you guys here in July. So thank you.
Thank you.
My name is John Meters. I have lived in Las Vegas since 1994. This is my only mode of transportation. My mother just had a stroke recently, and she might have to start riding the buses now. And I'm just hoping that things will change and Veolia will hopefully be staying around. They've been with you guys for 20 years. It's a long time. And like I said, I'm a loyal passenger. This is my only way to move around town. So I'm hoping everything turns out good for both companies. Thank you.
Thank you for coming down today and spending the day with us.
You're welcome.
Hello, Mike Griffiths again from Keolis Transit America, and I just wanted to say our company is extremely excited to be here to serve the citizens and to serve you in the community. We'll do everything that we can in our power to make sure that this is a smooth transition for you, and thank you very much for the award. We appreciate it.
Anyone else wishing to speak to the board? Please, state your name.
Good morning, good afternoon. My name is Harold Mackey. I'm a fixed route driver for Veolia, and I've been driving for Veolia about 5.5 years. What I wonder is that when you guys put out this express bus, I can understand that we needed an express bus, but why did you take the 107 away from Boulder Highway when we was trying to get money from the passengers? Now we got passengers just jumps on the bus, they're thinking it's free. Also, when you put the express on Sahara, and that's free, people thinking that's free. Well, when we had the 204, we was trying to get money. So I hear you guys talk about you losing money. Yes, you're losing money because of the express. Yeah, we needed the express. We needed the express to go out to Henderson. We needed the express to go out to Red Rock. That was a good thing. And I see that Veolia is doing a good job. So why don't we expand the routes, get more routes, create more jobs, instead of bringing in 2 companies? But I see you guys' minds are made up. And once again, people talk about, yeah, we're gonna be hurting families here in Las Vegas. We're trying to raise a family, have our kids be respectable and go to school, and you know, that's all I want to see. I'm kind of nervous now. But, you know, you guys ought to create more routes, create more jobs, instead of bringing in another company. But your mind is made up, so I guess we have to live with it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for coming down.
Dennis Hennessy, I just want to take a moment to thank Tina and her staff. I wasn't here for the meeting, sir, when you brought the security out. I happened to be one of those drivers at one of the focus meetings. Tina happened to be at the focus meeting, and I think I spoke up and talked about the need for security down at Fremont Street, not only from getting the guys that were walking around selling bad tickets, but I just want to say it paid off. It is, like Barbara said earlier, it is or Brenda said earlier, night and day down at Fremont Street. And the byproduct that has been down to the South Strip Transfer Terminal, because preventing the sleepers and the problems from getting on there mean that they don't ride. Now, unfortunately, they go to Patrick's route over on Maryland Parkway, so, you know, but your efforts paid off a lot, and we really appreciate it. Well, I want everybody to know that I know you heard, that just tells me you heard what we were saying, and you took action. Okay, yeah. Well, come on out and ride on at night. And come on out at 2:30 in the morning. That's when the bewitching hour on the Strip really happens, because you're dealing with alcohol then. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Dennis. Anyone else wishing to speak? Seeing no one, we'll close the portion of public comment, and this meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.